that were on over the weekend because she forgot. The television just tapes all the gymnastics for her now. I don't know what has happened, but literally it was all taped.
Wow.
And so last night she was all geeked up because when she went, a lot of the kids that were juniors are now competing at the highest level. So she thinks that's actually kind of cool. But what's really bad is I can watch it now and know exactly when deductions are. Oh, legs came apart there. Oh, look at the step. Oh, look at.
Jeez. Oh, yeah. Gymnast dad.
I want to be that dad. There was a girl, you wouldn't remember, Philly, and you probably wouldn't either, but you might, David, because it was great. The dad would do every routine with the daughter. And I can just see me up there bobbing and weaving and them just catching me on cat because I watch them do it now. My daughter's just gotten to where she can do a cartwheel on the beam.
Right.
And I watch them doing floop, floop, floop. And I can't ever imagine my 9-year-old being able to do that shit.
By the way, those routines will be anchored in her brain till the day she dies.
Oh, yeah.
Because Soph will look at some of those and she'll do, her arms will start moving. I'm like, oh my gosh.
It is pretty amazing that Simone Biles is competing at 26 years old.
Totally.
The Olympics.
I do too.
I mean, this will be her third Olympics, right? For a gymnast, that's stunning.
I mean, after all, many regard her as the GOAT.
She is.
Wow. That's a really tough second Olympics. I know she is, but wow. That's
why the bounce back would be even sweeter.
I mean, she emotionally fell apart 3 years ago. So good for her, though. Fell in love, got married. It's in a good place. Wants to do this. Awesome.
Right.
Awesome. My guess is if she wants, she would be the gymnastics commentator for the next 30 years. She'd be like Dick Button on ice skating and Peggy Fleming.
If she wants to.
If she wants to. I know she doesn't have a good voice, but it doesn't matter. She's so huge, great smile, personality.
Good looking kid.
You'd have to give her the mic.
Yeah, I mean, she looks good on camera.
Yes, she does.
She does.
Beautiful woman. Yep. Good morning, AJC. Coffin Baugh. What's up? Baby Jules getting in early.
10 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on a terrific Tuesday lineup of Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network. Florida Sports Network. How the heck are you? Got a jam-packed show today. David Samson, Pat Kirwan, JP Shadrick. Lots to talk about. Hope your week got off to a good start yesterday. Thanks for being with us. Top of the morning to you, Mark. How are you?
Good morning, David. I'm doing well. Last night was open house for my daughter's school, which means we are that much closer to her getting back to school and me getting my life back.
What were the looks like on the teachers' faces? Did they look excited? Can't wait to get back. This is what I love to do. Or were they looking at you kind of in reverse? You know, you're excited, like 72 hours away. I'm giving my kid back. Thank goodness, go? And were they looking at you like, I'm not ready for your child?
No, she's a first-year teacher at the school that we have. So she was all excited. She's
Okay.
moved back home. She's lived in Colorado for however many years and now is moving back to where she's from, which is Southwest Florida. So she was all fired up about, entering the new school, the new kids, and
Right.
everybody was happy. My daughter's running into old friends, lots of hugs. No. It was a terrific night.
And this is
Then we had the one fun thing, is 4th grade, but then we went out to dinner after and ran into literally the entire front office staff and most of the teachers who couldn't wait after open house to get somewhere where there was alcoholic beverages. They're coming in 2 by 2, man. I'm like, I almost sent over a round of drinks. I knew it was hard for them. I didn't know what the protocol there was, though.
That would have vaulted you right to the front of the line if you had bought them a round of drinks. Basically say to the barkeep, listen, any teacher, administrator who walks in here, it's on me. Oh, my goodness. They would have revised parent pickup to make sure that you could pull in anytime you wanted and pick up your child. My goodness. Thursday, right?
Thursday.
School?
Because why would you start school on a Monday, David?
Well, I guess they want to give the teachers a head start. I don't know, get the class set up, see, how many office supplies your school district doesn't supply for you, and you have to dip into your own pocket and buy for yourself. I mean, that sort of
was
deal.
Basically the word to the teacher. Just give us the list.
Yep.
Let us know what it is you need. That's where my wife tells teacher, let me know what you need, and I'll send my husband to Costco to get it for you.
And honey, make sure you throw a little bit more on top of what they asked for. So, all right, that's good. That's good. As summer's just about done. I have a feeling that the mood is going to pick up. Okay, around the state of Florida, beginning this weekend. I think morale is going to be really high around the state of Florida. Really high, with many kids going back to school. They're discussing in Jacksonville anyway, they're discussing a 4-day school week. And my wife turned to me and said, what do you think about that? And I go, well, I'm torn. I go, Miller and Moulton have wanted a 4-day work week from the moment we've done a show together. I mean, our campaign to run for Congress, okay, was legalized sports betting. All right. Legalized, heavily regulated and taxed, okay, recreation marijuana, okay, and the 4-day work week. I mean, that was our platform.
It's the only one we have left, David. The other two
I
have
know.
basically become legal everywhere.
I know. And I did stop in the middle of it and say to my wife, now, just for the record, we were going to take all the money from the legalized sports betting and the weed, and we were going to spend it on roads, okay, teachers, all right, and public servants, okay, cops, firemen, that sort of deal. I mean, we were going to have the best of the best, just so you know. I mean, we weren't stashing this or anything. We weren't giving this away to the insurance companies or anything. I mean, we were actually going to do good with it. But that was our platform. That was it. We were going to run that sucker up the flagpole and see how far we could get. If we made it to Congress, we'd try for higher office. That was our thing.
And most of them are happening.
Right.
Now the 4-day school week, huh?
Well, and I did, in all seriousness, I said, here's the problem. Okay, if the parents don't have a 4-day work week, you can't have a 4-day school week.
Nope.
That would make life worse, actually. So once again, it all goes back to until we get the 4-day work week, all these grand plans have to be put on hold. Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. As we mentioned, David Samson, Pat Kirwan, JP Shadrick on the show today. It's been nearly a month since we talked to David Samson. We have a lot to talk with him about. Mark, we in the media, and I associate ourselves with the media like as if we're important, like as if we qualify. I mean, let's face it, there's major league media and then there's minor league media. And Miller and Moulton are somewhere between rookie ball and low A. But we in the media,
we're not even double A.
I don't know. We've been at it a while. Maybe they would have, felt sympathy for us in the organization. They would have promoted us to AA. I mean, we are on 4 stations. Okay. All right. I mean, it took us a very long time, though. I mean, we're like the 31-year-old who's still playing minor league ball and he's only in AA, and the people in the crowd are like, nobody has the guts to tap him on the shoulder and tell him the dream is dead. It's not going to happen. Nah.
We'll keep grinding along.
Yeah, let them keep going. They're not hurting anybody. So, where was I? Yeah.
Minor league ball, AA.
Right. Well, that's hoping to get to it someday.
The media.
But we in the media have a tendency sometimes to focus on ourselves. All right. The running joke. And you and I are very good at poking fun at not just us, but, quote, the media. I mean, the media can feel sometimes as if the media is very important.
They often think that they are.
Right. And while they have a role, and we can debate whether or not we fill that role properly or not, and many of you now feel as if we don't, when there was a time in which you thought that we did. But the big brouhaha in the sports world last night, Mark, was the Baltimore Orioles' treatment of their lead play-by-play announcer, in which all he did, apparently, before the final game of the Orioles-Rays series a couple weeks ago, was just point out how, listen, the Orioles have won 2 of the first 3 games here at the Trop, and they have a chance to win the series. Do you know when was the last time they won a series in St. Pete? And they had a graphic. It was like...
Well, there you go. They had a graphic.
Right.
They had a graphic that said tropical depression.
Right.
Because they were playing at the Trop.
Right. And also, every stat that was put on the graphic, the Orioles PR staff had typed into their game notes.
Correct.
And Mark, nobody loves and appreciates game notes quite like one Mark Miller.
As I'm reading the story, and I first watched the story, I watched what he said and saw the graphic, and then I'm reading the story, and I'm saying that the Orioles printed it in the game notes. Like, how do you suspend the guy who was in the game notes?
Mark's like, I've been suspended as an announcer before. Okay, but it wasn't for something that I was reading straight out of the game notes.
Nope. I referred to an official as the worst hockey referee in the league and said he wasn't qualified to do mite hockey, which is for 6 and 7-year-olds.
And years later, they ended up drinking together.
Yes.
So that's the moral of the story. But anyway, Kevin Brown is the young broadcaster's name, and he's very good. And apparently Orioles fans like him. And all he was doing was pointing out how, listen, the Orioles, in fact, in the last 3 years had only won twice here. And they haven't won a series here in 6-7 years. And that's all the graphic basically said, that this place has basically been a house of horrors. And if you remember, the Orioles had won the night before. The Orioles won the first game. The Rays won the second. The Orioles won the third. So what he was trying to point out is like, hey, the fact that the worst they're going to do is come out of here with a split, okay, based on how things have gone here in the last 6 years, this already been a really good series, and this has a chance to be, wow, a special little series here for the Orioles, and showing once and for all that this season is the turnaround, that this team is different. And somehow, some way, the owner of the Orioles took it as if, well, the organization was being disparaged.
And the owner of any team not being able to handle this is laughable. It's downright laughable. Maybe even worse. But the Orioles owner, of all owners, to come out against the broadcaster, this guy?
Now, John Angelos is the guy. Peter Angelos is still alive. He still technically owns the team. His son, John Angelos, is running it. John Angelos is the guy who still hasn't signed. Technically, they have not signed an extension of their lease at Camden Yards. Still. And remember, he got into it with the reporter the beginning of the season. But yes. So Kevin Brown gets suspended, only they couldn't enact the suspension right away. Why? Because John Angelos has another rule that you have to wear Orioles team garb when you're broadcasting a game. And one of the radio announcers did not have an Orioles shirt on. And so John Angelos suspended him for a 3-game series. So Kevin Brown got demoted, if you will, from TV to radio, did the 3 games on the radio. They reinstated the radio announcer, okay, and have suspended Kevin Brown for the last 2 weeks.
For reading a graphic on screen.
And
All
needless
of which is true.
right.
Last 16 series, 15-1. Last
Right.
series win, June of 17. This season, 3 wins in 5 games because the split, they had a 2-game split. They split 2 games earlier in the season. But 20-22, 3 total wins in 21 games. Just facts.
So needless to say, every major league broadcast last night had their play-by-play guy make fun of the Orioles. I mean, you could just go on social media and find it. Every single play-by-play guy just berated the Orioles. But it is alarming when as an announcer, you can't even, I mean, the fans can't handle the truth. Hey, we've struggled here. Now, looks as if we might win the series. This is pretty remarkable. You're suspended. Why? You said we struggled.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So, what team you think Kevin Brown's announcing for next year? Because if I'm Kevin Brown, I am gone.
Yeah, I don't know if he has a multi-year contract, but yeah, I'm with you.
No, he was suspended, Ambient. He was not fired. Oh, Spitz, that's the thing. Right. This was a pre-produced, this was the open, if you will.
They should have had to suspend the entire broadcast department. But I'm guessing most everybody else was a freelancer, so they can't. He's the only team employee. Most everybody else is a freelancer. The graphics people would be freelancers.
Well, but okay, but would the producer? Would the producer?
That's a great question, David. Was the producer hired by Messin?
Well, right, like the producer and the director are probably full time.
With the team or the network, though?
Don't they own the network?
Yeah, they do, don't they?
They own the network because that's part of the whole dispute with the Nats.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right.
Well, no. See, RCB, that's the funny thing. This is the play-by-play guy, and it was not opinion. He was just pointing out the fact that for the last 6 years, they came to the Trop and got their ass kicked. And now they've won 2 out of 3 and a chance to win 3 out of 4, which they did. Yeah, just remember, okay, this was the play-by-play guy. This was not the analyst. He was not giving opinions. He was literally spitting out facts that were in the team's game notes and that had been pre-produced onto a graphic. He was literally just reading what was on the graphic. And then he turns to Ben McDonald and says, it's been a tough place to play. Or then he jokes and he goes, and the Rays have been pretty good during that time. It's embarrassment. For you to think that that was an insult. And not only that, he's been suspended 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I mean, he's missed 12, 13 games.
Important games, too.
Who cares about that? He's not getting paid.
And he's working for the Orioles, so he's not being well paid to begin with. I'll bet you he leave the first opportunity he has to leave, he's gone.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. David Samson will join us at the top of the hour. We want you to join us a week from tonight, our Fantasy Football Summit. It's in Fort Myers. It's at the Crown Plaza. There's 2 of them in Fort Myers. This is the one in the Bell Tower Shops. They got a nice sports bar, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe. They got a side room, which is where they hold breakfast every morning for the hotel. You can comfortably seat nearly 60. We're going to put 50 people in a room with Dr. Roto. Dinner and Dr. Roto for all your fantasy football info. He's your cheat sheet. It's a hell of a cheat sheet. It's like we're giving you the answers for the test. Week from tonight, floridasportsnetwork.com. Sign up, register, see you a week from tonight, floridasportsnetwork.com. Presented by the law firm of Michael F. Hornung.
Text lines open at 21,000, David, and we got a text after the show yesterday from a listener and a fan since 2005 about national anthem protocol. Told us, please don't turn into old white guys' attitude. Don't judge an individual's patriotism. To some, the symbols aren't important. The ideas they represent. Otherwise, we're on track to be Nazi Germany. Empathize with individuals who are being different, female, minority, gay, etc. Don't feel included in the thing that the flag represents. Protest is a pillar of the U.S. Don't take it personal as our right from a 69-year-old white male, Bud. Bud, thank you very much for the text, but I think all we really did was point out why the team was polarizing.
Right. And Bud, by the way, I agree 100% with you. By the way, I just pointed out that Mark and I, as broadcasters, there are times in which we are, quote unquote, working while broadcasting, and it has resulted in issues where people have observed us and they've commented, because to some it's like, hey, you stand at attention, or hey, you stand at attention with your hand over your heart. Like, for instance, we all in the booth, at least in the Monday Night Football booth, they play the anthem. We're not on camera, but we're just a few minutes away from being on camera, and they play the anthem. All right. And Troy Aikman would stop on a dime, okay, if he was on the other side of the stadium, and he would run to the booth in record time, and he would stand at attention with his hand over his heart. Okay. It is important to him. Okay. I stand next to him. I do not put my hand over my heart. I don't know. I never have. We all stand at attention, by the way, in the booth. We all don't work for the anthem, but Troy is the one person in the booth who has his hand over his heart.
And I'm of the opinion that you play regular season games and you want to do what you want in the anthem, that's fine. When you represent the country, I think you should have a little more respect for the country you're representing. And if that makes me old white guy, then I'm old white guy. Guilty as charged.
But yeah, I am one of those that says, we are a nation that was founded on protest. Do we need to go back to 1775 and the whole Tea Party thing? Kind of got the ball rolling. So, I'm willing to give some slack. But so we're not Eastwood on the porch here. We're not Gran Torino. We're not there yet anyway, which was on just the other day, by the way. Man, that movie ages well. Really does. That is a good, solid flick.
Yes, it is. He's something.
Yeah, he is. Hey, we don't know if this whole college football sports realignment thing is going to age well or not. But let me ask you, if you're the ACC, and apparently they're more than semi-seriously kicking the whole Cal-Stanford idea around. You going to do this if you're the ACC? You inclined to do this, Mark? It's your call.
No. I don't know how Cal and Stanford saved my conference, and I am really just throwing the two schools a lifeline so that they can keep playing Power 5 football and basketball and keep their athletic department at a level to support all their it's a nice gesture to let them keep all their Olympic sports going. And I'm not being flippant at all, David. I don't see why the ACC is doing it other than being nice to these two schools. And I'm not even joking when I say that, because there's no need, in my opinion.
And once again, you're the boss, and I'm going, well, boss, okay, here's what some of us are thinking. That if we add two schools, we can open up the TV contract. And what is the one thing that's a thorn for our side right now? We're stuck into a TV contract that's not aging well every day for 13 more years. This gives us a chance to open the contract back up. Maybe we can get a little more money thrown in. Maybe we can make Florida State and Clemson happy. Secondly, Stanford's very attractive to Notre Dame. And we don't know what Notre Dame's going to do. We don't. But Stanford is Stanford. This is very attractive to Notre Dame. Notre Dame is very attractive to us. Just an idea, boss. Just an idea. So that's apparently the two-pronged thought.
Would you would you give the ACC more money for Stanford and Cal? You're ESPN right now. Are you inclined to give them more money to keep all of their properties on your network?
My gut feeling is no, but I do want to point out something. Okay. That ESPN is now from the Rockies West almost shut out. Remember, Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA going to Big Ten. ESPN can't televise any of their sports. That's Seattle, Portland, and Los Angeles. Okay, now, Big 12, they split the broadcast rights with Fox. So they're going to have a little Colorado. They're going to have the 2 Arizona schools. They're going to have Utah. Okay, we can think about how much viewership is that really. But I do know in Bristol, they are looking at the map going, wow, west of Texas Tech, we don't have a lot of property. And so that's why it may slightly interest ESPN. Also, there's a lot of significant alums who come from Stanford, excuse me. All right. Here's the second thing, though, which to me is the bigger concern. If we open up our TV deal, would that be a way to allow Florida State and Clemson to leave? That's the first thing I got. Hold on a second. Are they still tied to us? If you know what I mean?
Is the TV deal tied to the grant of rights deal?
Right. Or by us, are we going to unwittingly allow Florida State and Clemson to get up and leave by adding Stanford and Cal? That would be, my lawyers would have to make sure that ain't a loophole that they can exploit because they're hell-bent on leaving. And I'm going to try to make it as difficult on them as possible. But apparently the ACC is like talking about it today. And they've been talking about it over the weekend. I got to admit, if you're Stanford and Cal, I don't know what you do. They don't want to join the Mountain West. I mean, that word's already gotten out. And that's okay because the schools in the Mountain West are like, yeah, they're not a fit. Oregon State, Washington State, that's a fit. Stanford, Cal, not a fit. I mean, the Wyoming president was very vocal about it yesterday. Kind of like, Stanford, Cal doesn't work for us. That's like me, Mark, when I go to Collier County and I get the shakes. I'm telling you, that's what the Mountain West is doing here. Stanford and Cal, I can't sit at a table with Stanford and Cal. They make me nervous.
Very nervous.
I can't do it.
It is interesting that they're taking pot shots at Stanford and Cal. I mean,
well, they're not taking pot shots, but it sounds that way, right? That would be me. I can't sit at a table with Condoleezza Rice. I gotta go.
It's not a fit. Why? We're not worthy.
I don't have clothes nice enough for Stanford and Cal.
They're still wearing ties, and we've all gone to business casual.
I've got sandals and shorts. They wear pants all the time. It's like the PGA Tour. And I'm like a caddy.
Great show lined up for you today. David Samson will join us top of the 7 o'clock hour. Pat Kirwan will join us top of the 8 o'clock hour. And JP Shadrick in the 8 o'clock hour as well to talk all thing Jags. When we come back, David Moulton in the starting 5. That's next right here on the Florida Sports Network.
It's time for Dr. Roto's yearly house call. Tuesday, August 15th, 7 o'clock, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe in Fort Myers. The second annual Miller & Moulton Fantasy Football Summit, courtesy of the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. Dr. Roto will give you all the tips, secrets, while answering your questions so you can win in fantasy football. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com. $50 gets you dinner, non-alcoholic drinks, and Dr. Roto. Seating is limited. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com today.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Fort Myers.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. 20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other. With a vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologists, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
It's really funny because I cut and paste on the tweet, the iHeartRadio, the text and it changes the TV to a camera when you cut and paste it. Every day I have to take the TV, I have to go back, and it's just the weirdest thing.
That is
the little glitches inside a computer program.
RCB Kevin Brown, there was a pitcher, a high-priced pitcher by the name of Kevin Brown, but that is not the play-by-play guy for the Orioles. Kevin Brown of the Orioles is about 25 years younger. Jason Benetti, did you see Benetti's clip? It's a White Sox play-by-play guy. He's talking about, I think they're on this topic, and I think he's talking about the White Sox and the Orioles in the season series, and he mentioned something about, and beating the Orioles 6 times, and then he goes, "But I hope I don't get suspended by the Orioles for saying that." Gary Cohen of the Mets, you could tell, he said to the producer, "Listen, when I want to bring this up, I want shots of me in the booth." Got it? And so there was a fly ball to right for the first out of an inning, and then Gary Cohen of the Mets starts bringing it up, and they would show a pitch and go to the booth, show a pitch and go to the booth. Gary Cohen was just lighting the Orioles on fire.
Makes you not want to root for him.
That's what I tweeted out. I said, "Wow."
I've been pulling for. I want the Rays
Totally.
to win, but I'm pulling for the Orioles. Now I'm not rooting for him. I don't want that owner to have any joy in this. He's a jerk.
Yep. I feel badly because they have a great fan base too.
Right.
A couple buddies of mine are Orioles fans, and they're both ashamed. It's been such a great year. Morning, KW. Arch, the problem, by the way, if he were to lawyer up, this would actually, even though all the other owners probably think that the announcer has been wronged here, they're not going to be in a hurry to hire him if he's suing for back pay. If you know what I mean.
He can't. He just got to get another job, keep his mouth shut.
Exactly. And that's what Gary Cohen of the Mets said. Gary Cohen of the Mets ended it by saying, and John Angelos, if you don't want Kevin Brown, there's 29 other teams that do. And it's funny because Keith Hernandez kind of looked over at him like, so which one of us is losing our job? He didn't say that, but that's what the look on his face said. Yeah, Canada relief. The only thing I could think about that is that morale must have been pretty bad in the household that they couldn't make it to the end of the term, if you know what I mean. That they separated while still being prime minister. And ambient, you know how many TV play-by-play jobs there are in Major League Baseball? 30. Trust me, there's a lot of people lined up for that gig.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes until David Samson joins us at the top of the hour on Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. By the way, the magic numbers are 18, 23, and 30. Week 0, week 1 of the college football season's 18 and 23 days away, and it's 4 weeks from Thursday. 30 days away, baby. Lions and Chiefs. Let's get this NFL party started. Make sure you go to floridasportsnetwork.com, sign up for our Fantasy Football Summit a week from tonight, presented by the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. Right now it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
And I know we just briefly talked about this, but I want to bring it up because I want to ask you a question, Mark. College sports realignment continues to hover over the sports world. The ACC is officially talking to Stanford and Cal and debating amongst themselves whether or not they want to go a la the Big Ten and go coast to coast. After all, the Big 12 has reportedly said they are not interested in expanding with any of the Pac-4 that's left: Cal, Stanford, Oregon State, Washington State. The Mountain West, meanwhile, is interested in, at the very least, Oregon State, Washington State. The American Conference has reportedly extended offers to all 4 Pac-4 schools. And, of course, the rumors are rampant about the future of the ACC. And, Mark, there were a few stories yesterday talking about Florida State and Clemson to the SEC and North Carolina and Virginia to the Big Ten. And then the NC State, Pitt, Louisville, and what's the other one? NC State, Pitt, Vatech. Those 4 would go to the Big 12. Let's just, because a lot of the reporting has been more accurate than not. Once again, where does this leave Miami? Can somebody help me out here? With all of the rumors, innuendos, stories, conjecture, have you heard anybody write or say Miami's name anywhere?
David, they've not been associated with the Big Ten. They've not been associated with the SEC, and they have not even been associated with the Big 12.
And remember, we're all at even numbers right now. Big 12 is at 16. Big 10 is at 18. The SEC is at 16. And what are we talking about here? 4 schools go to the Big 12. That would make 20. 2 schools go to the Big 10. That would make 20. 2 schools go to the SEC. That makes 18. So, yes, Miami, I think all 3 conferences, at least 2 of the 3. I think the Big 12 for sure, and the Big 10, I believe, because Miami actually fits their profile academically, all right, and athletically. And to get into Florida, I actually think the Big Ten would do it. But who else? We talk about travel partners. Okay. Miami seemingly doesn't have a realignment partner. Florida State's got Clemson and vice versa. I'm telling you, somebody answer me. What's going to happen to Miami if the dominoes continue to fall?
Because it's always been North Carolina's linked with whom? Virginia.
Right. And then also Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, boom, boom, boom. It's not a direct, Delaware's in the way, but Maryland does connect with what? Pennsylvania, Jersey, okay? And then you keep going west. I mean, the Big Ten until they go out west. But so I'm just curious. All of this talk of the one school that is seemingly in the witness protection program is Miami. All right, baseball. It's a hell of a time for the Marlins to have a 5-game losing streak. Reds snapped their 6-game losing streak. They beat Miami 5-2. Miami now a game and a half behind the Reds for the final playoff spot in the National League. Yuri Perez, remember they shut him down a month ago. Well, they brought him back, and in 4 2/3 innings, he gave up 4 runs in 78 pitches. Jorge Soler and Jazz Chisholm both hit solo homers to account for the Marlins' only runs. Mets did the Reds and Marlins a favor, however. They slowed down the Cubs for a night. Pete Alonso, 2 homers, 6 RBIs, 11-2 New York, snapping their 6-game skid. Cubs a game behind the Reds for the final playoff spot, 2.5 behind Milwaukee because the Brewers bombed Colorado 12-1. Milwaukee's lead in the Central still a game and a half over Cincinnati. The Twins' lead in the Central now, Mark, is up to a robust 5.5 games because they've won 5 in a row, including beating Detroit 9-3 last night, while Cleveland's lost 6 of 7. Blue Jays, who have won 4 in a row, beat the Guardians last night 3-1.
And isn't the Twins' 5-game winning streak their longest of the season?
Yes. And the Guardians losing 6 of 7, 5.5 back. Toronto leads for the final playoff spot in the American League by 3 over Seattle. The Yankees are now 5.5 back and in last place in the American League East, 5.5 back of Toronto for the final playoff spot. Yankees lost to the White Sox 5-1. Aaron Boone, by the way, with a spectacular rejection. All right. Old school.
Minor league-esque.
Yeah.
It really was. Minor league-esque. He, got down on the ground, did some pointing.
Imitated the umpire and how he calls and strikes people out. Right. I mean, Piniella, Earl Weaver, all of them very, very impressed. All right. 5-1 White Sox, who have won 3 straight. Dodgers scored 8 in the 4th. That will erase a 5-0 deficit, by the way. And they beat the Padres 13-7. They took 3 of 4 from San Diego. Padres 4 back for the final playoff spot in the National League. Dodgers have a 4-game lead in the West over the Giants, who scored 6 in the 9th to rally to beat the Angels 8-3. So the Angels have lost back-to-back games in the 9th inning, blowing leads, and LA has lost 7 straight. They're 0 for August. And you can put a fork in the Angels. They are done. Texas, by the way, extended their lead in the West to 3 by beating Oakland 5-3, the Rangers' 7th win in a row. Red Sox move ahead of the Yankees, but they're still 5 games back of Toronto for the final playoff spot. All right, Pablo Reyes with a slam in the 9th. Boston 6-2 over KC. And the Pirates scored 6 in the 3rd, withstood a 2-hour rain delay and held off the Braves 7-6. Phils and Nats couldn't play because of rain. Red Sox get good news this week. Chris Sale and Trevor Story both coming back off the injured list. And while Houston may be 3 back of Texas in the West, they were honored at the White House yesterday, in which Joe Biden turned to Dusty Baker and said, they said you're too old. I know a little something about people saying that. Oldest president looking at the oldest manager ever to win a World Series. There was also one other baseball note. Remember that brouhaha, that melee, dare we say brawl, between the Guardians and the White Sox? Well, White Sox shortstop Tim Anderson got 6 games, while Cleveland third baseman Jose Ramirez only got 3.
For a knockout.
So the guy who got knocked out got double the suspension of the guy who did the knocking out. Tells you what Major League Baseball thinks of Tim Anderson.
Got that right.
Cleveland's closer got suspended for a game as well. Both managers got a 1-game suspension for their roles in it. NASCAR, they had to finish up on a Monday again. That's been a common theme. Chris Buescher went back-to-back. He won at Pocono, and yesterday he won at Michigan. Held off Martin Truex Jr., Denny Hamlin. Ross Chastain, who started on the front row, finished 7th. And Tampa's Eric Amarola was in the top 5 in the third and final stage, but fell all the way back to 16th. He needs a win to get in the playoff. College hoop news. Did you see this? The fruits of going to the Final Four. The Jimmy V Classic at Madison Square Garden, doubleheader, which will be televised on the 4-letter network. You got UConn and North Carolina in one semifinal. You know who's in the other game? FAU.
How about that?
Against Illinois. Early December at the Garden, which is where FAU won their regional to go to the Final Four. So good for the Owls. Bunch of NFL news and notes. Teddy Bridgewater signed with the Lions. Dan Campbell and Bridgewater spent time together when Campbell was on the staff in New Orleans, and Teddy was a backup there. The Cowboys have a kicking competition, and they just cut one of the guys in it. That would seem to make way for the other guy, right? And the Cowboys have said not so fast. By the way, the other guy was a kicker in the USFL who apparently didn't miss a kick for Birmingham all year.
Well, Birmingham special teams were electric, David. I always said that, all 3 teams when you play Birmingham.
Okay. I'm just going to say this out loud. Robbie Gould is available. If you're having a kicking competition and Robbie Gould isn't in it, then you're not serious. By the way, Mark, he's been a kicker for over a decade. Do you know how many kicks in the playoffs he's missed?
I think that's 0.
It would be 0, Mark. It would. Correct. He's appeared in the playoffs many times, by the way. It's not like he's 3 for 3. The Jags announced they're going to play their starters against the Cowboys for at least 1, if not 2 series. Interesting. Remember, only 3 preseason games. Apparently, there's a minority owner of the Houston Texans named Javier Loya. And, apparently he's facing multiple sex assault charges in Kentucky. And the league and the team have known about this for 3 months, and they made sure to cover it up. But once it was reported yesterday by Pro Football Talk, now all of a sudden he doesn't have anything to do with the franchise anymore. Funny how that works. Bucs linebacker Devin White gave a lengthy sit-down with the Tampa media, something he doesn't do much of. And he said, I was a little selfish with my trade request. I really was. But we had a long sit down. We talked, and I said to him, I want to be your Levante David. I want to be Derek Brooks. I want to be the guy here. And they're like, oh, okay. All right. Well, we can do that, but you got to show up and go to work and play. And he's like, okay, I got it. So we'll see where it goes from here. By the way, Todd Bowles did announce Baker Mayfield's going to get the start in the preseason opener Friday against the Steelers. Kyle Trask will get the start in the second game, which is a week from Saturday at the Jets. And that's
Trask versus Rodgers.
Right.
It all begins here.
But it sounds to me like then Todd Bowles makes his decision before the third preseason game. And then, of course, doesn't play the winner because you can't get him hurt, right? Anyway. And at 9 minutes before the hour, gentlemen, that was
the Starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
And it's not sports news, but it's kind of sports television news. I've literally never watched the show, but they found a part-time partner for Skip Bayless. Richard Sherman's going to do 50 to 100 appearances. Of course, he does about 240 shows a year. So, they need to find somebody for about 150 plus shows. But anyway, not exactly a bunch of people. It's kind of like people that are volunteering to be the Orioles play-by-play guy after the latest news. Not a lot of people volunteering for that gig, and it pays really well, too.
Really well.
Which shows you what people think about working with Skip Bayless. And yet Fox pays him $6 million a year. Unbelievable.
By the way, and I don't think you mentioned the coaches poll came out yesterday. And imagine this, Georgia's ranked number 1.
What?
Michigan number 2, Alabama 3, Ohio State 4, and LSU 5.
What's Florida State, like 8th? So LSU, Florida State's 5 versus 8 in the coaches poll. The AP poll comes out next week. Do we think the coaches actually voted in this, or do we think the SIDs did this one also?
This is the SID poll.
Okay. Clemson, I think for Paul in our Twitch chat room, Clemson was 9.
Yeah, USC 6, Penn State 7, Florida State 8, Clemson 9, Tennessee rounds out the top 10. Texas is your highest ranked Big 12 team at 12th.
And of course, it's their last year in the Big 12. So, here's the thing, by the way. The Pac-12 is actually going to be pretty good this year, and Oregon State could win it. Wouldn't it be great if the final year of the Pac-12 if Oregon State won it? That's what I'm rooting for. David Samson returns next.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other. With a vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologists, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
It's time for Dr. Roto's yearly house call. Tuesday, August 15th, 7 o'clock, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe in Fort Myers. The second annual Miller & Moulton Fantasy Football Summit, courtesy of the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. Dr. Roto will give you all the tips, secrets, while answering your questions so you can win in fantasy football. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com. $50 gets you dinner, non-alcoholic drinks, and Dr. Roto. Seating is limited. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com today.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Fort Myers.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Look
good
at this.
morning.
He's back in his castle and everything.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Excellent. How are you? How was the trip?
It was unbelievable. Truly unbelievable. It just happened that I missed 3 Tuesdays, but it was for 11 show days, and I'd pre-recorded 10 shows, so the feed was full, and I didn't think about work at all when I was gone.
Awesome.
And it was amazing.
How was Springsteen?
So unreal. Just, I'm thankful. He's 73 years old. They play for 2 hours, 50 minutes. I had a chance to total flex here, but I had dinner with Max Weinberg and Roy Bittan, and we had a 5-hour dinner, 5 bottles of wine the night before the Vienna concert, which was one of the highlight dinners of my life.
Wow.
Absolutely.
And
Oh.
partied with them after this show, too. I don't know how they do it. The next night, they play till 10:30 or 11, and then we were in the bar. They closed down the hotel bar for them, for the whole band, and they just, it's like an after party that goes till 3 in the morning. I assume back in the day there were other things involved. This was just drinking and eating because they're in their 70s.
Right.
But I assume it looked slightly different in the 70s. And then Israel was phenomenal. I'd never seen Israel through a non-Jewish lens, and my girlfriend is not Jewish. So we saw all sorts of things I'd never seen before when I was in Israel, which were fascinating.
That sounds magical.
It was fantastic. I just came back Tuesday. I got back Tuesday, but didn't get to a computer in time. Landed at 5 a.m. and went right to work for the trade deadline. So it's been a bumpy re-entry. What about you guys?
Well, neither one of us has traveled or seen a concert since
So are
you were
you
gone.
not taking any time off this entire summer?
I took a
Well,
week.
Okay.
You took a week, and I took half a week. Okay. Here's the problem, and it's with this fledgling network. We don't have anyone to replace us, and the network, the guy won't provide the finances because obviously, who's going to do a show for free? Okay, and we don't have the finances to pay someone to do the show. So it's, for 2 years now, we've been pretty much staggering you. When are you going to take off? Well, I'm going to take this. Okay, well, then I'll work. And then, hey, I need 4 days here. Well, okay, I'll fill in. We do some best ofs, but it's really tough in sports to do best of.
It certainly is.
Like in politics, you can just, rack up my stance on blank, and you could just line up 8 issues and you could just run them.
So you promised 260 days to this network?
Well, let's see. There's like 10 holidays. You throw in, I think it's like, we probably do 245 shows.
You guys are amazing. I do the same, but it's only 45 minutes, and I'm crazy. So I can't imagine how you guys do that.
Funny thing is, our next guest in an hour after you is Pat Kirwan from NFL Radio and CBS, and he takes less time off than we do.
And could take off time. We don't get it.
Exactly. He's got like 6 weeks vacation he could take. He takes 4 days and then heckles us when we take time off. He took his first week vacation like 2 weeks ago, his first week off in like 4 years.
Yeah, I think you were both in Austria in the same time.
I know.
10
That's
seconds.
bizarre.
Here we go, guys.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the top of the 7 o'clock hour on a Tuesday, and that means David Samson. He is back from a well-earned vacation. He even's got a little color in his face. You could tell he went away. We have so much to talk to David Samson about. He of Nothing Personal with David Samson. You can follow him on Twitter at David P. Samson, David P. Samson. Listen, we want to catch up. We want to talk about a bunch of things, but we've got 12 to 13 minutes. So first off, tell everybody very quickly where you been. What the hell did you do?
Well, I actually had the opportunity to go to Israel. And I'm very lucky in that regard. I'd been to Israel before, but this was a different kind of trip. And I also went to see Bruce Springsteen. So I went to Germany, Austria, then Israel. And the dichotomy of those destinations was not lost on me as a nice Jewish boy from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And it was fascinating to do those in a row. But I'll tell you, the takeaway from Israel is that Jared Kushner didn't have a chance. There is no chance for peace in the Middle East. It is the holiest place in the world for 3 different religions. And I felt more safe in Jerusalem than I do in New York City. So it's not a safety issue. And everybody is coexisting. There's certainly issues, but it is not something that I think is solvable, which is why there's been problems for thousands of years.
That's quite a trip. Germany, Austria, and Israel. That in of itself just stopped me for a moment. And I'm not Jewish, so I'm guessing someone of the Jewish faith had to have. I can't even imagine the different thoughts you had on this trip.
Yeah, so it was definitely a little eerie. You know, in Germany and Austria, it's obviously a different time, but there's a lot of remnants of World War II. There just are, and people have moved past it, but apologize for it. And there's museums and things you can do. The highlight of Austria is I got to go to Freud, where Freud did some counseling, and so I went into his office. And I was waiting in the waiting room for like 4 hours because I really needed to see him. And the guy never showed up. Didn't even get my money back, which pissed me off. But it was pretty cool.
Once you give them the copay, you never get it back, David. We've all learned that. Listen, some baseball general managers, while you were gone, they needed some therapy. They needed to see Freud. Your thoughts on what the Mets did, in which the Mets realized, you know what, this didn't work. We're selling. Okay, didn't you guys do that in 2012? You put a team together, new stadium, the whole deal, and quickly it didn't work, and you started selling, didn't you?
Well, we sold in one fell swoop in that huge Blue Jays trade. The difference is, and this happened when I was gone, it started at least, I thought that what he was doing is trading players, but then next year, signing players. What we did is traded players, took the payroll down, and didn't bring it back up. I figured he was bringing the payroll down and he was going to sign players to bring the payroll back up. That's not a rebuild. That's not a retool. That's acknowledging that you signed the wrong guys. Start over. I love that. Then the Max Scherzer stuff leaked that he was told we're not looking to compete in 24 and they're looking at 25 or 26. And I said, wow, Steve Cohen's going to have to do something. And he flew to Kansas City and met the media. And he and Billy Epler, his current GM, said, no, we are definitely going to compete in 2024. But Steve Cohen said maybe spending all this money doesn't make sense. What music to owners' ears. The union despondent, owners happy, all the high payroll teams stink, and that's good for ownership.
On the other side of it, the Marlins and the Angels go out and make moves. They're very aggressive, and then it just backfires. So talk to me about that end. When you go out and you think you make the right moves, you're doing the right things for your team, you can sit down as a GM and say, all right, I improved the ball club, and then the ball club doesn't win.
So I did that a lot where we bought at the deadline, and we suffered from delusional, magical thinking that helping the clubhouse and bringing in somebody would all of a sudden get us going, and we'd be right there. And when a team makes moves, you're really still the team you were. And when you overperform for a period of time, there will be regression to the mean. The Marlins were not supposed to win 95 games this year. They were supposed to lose 90 games. And at the end of the day, you generally do and are who you are. The Marlins are going to finish below 500, which is too bad because they have great pitching. There was great excitement, but they're a little like the Pirates. The Pirates started the season, I think they were 20-9. Everyone was excited, and the Marlins were 14 games over. But eventually, everyone goes to their level. As for Artie Moreno, if I were him, I'd be doing some sort of going to an exorcist, doing something, because he seems very unlucky. However, it is true the Angels just haven't been good for a long time, but give them credit for trying.
And the Angels have yet to win in August, and the Marlins have only won once in August. Two teams who were very aggressive at the deadline. Hey, did you ever say anything to any of your broadcasters? Because obviously the whole Orioles play-by-play guy, and apparently he's been suspended for 2 weeks for reciting the facts, by the way, in a pre-produced segment that was also all the info was included in the game notes. So, but I'm just curious, just, you seem as if you're a pretty open, understanding guy that you would give announcers some leeway. But did you ever even have a conversation with one of your announcers and go, hey, now you got to rein this in?
So this is going to be the lead on this morning's Nothing Personal, but I'm going to give you a preview, and people are not going to be too thrilled. All of the teams coming out right now and all of the announcers coming out right now and saying, hey, we've never been spoken to. We've never spoken to an announcer. Or the announcer says, hey, we've never heard from management. They're all lying. We all do it. Here's what the Orioles did wrong. The Orioles had it leaked. The Orioles did an in-season suspension in the middle of a great first-place season. If, in fact, what happened is they were angry and suspended him for 2 weeks, and there's not more to the story. More to the story would be that he did something wrong, something off the field. There's some sort of action that required a suspension. If it really is solely because of what he said about Tampa and the Orioles, then that ownership group is stupid. Because what you do is you wait for the end of the season, and either you don't renew the contract or you renegotiate a contract if you want to renew him and the contract's over. You cut his pay. You do something off season. During the season, you could talk to the announcer and say, hey, I don't want you talking about blank. We did that all the time. Normal. But in-season suspension for something like that is exactly tracking with how the Angeloses are. So I believe it. But until we hear more about what happened, I think that it's hard for me to believe that what he said about the Rays caused a 2-week suspension by itself.
And, David and I are minor league play-by-play guys. And look, I was brought into the GM's office all the time. Why did you say that? Explain why. But never, ever coming close to a suspension. I think any announcer knows they've been told by management a thing or two of how management would like it. But this is crazy, David. This is reading game notes. This isn't giving an opinion. This is literally reading game notes.
There is no doubt, which is why, even though I know the Angeloses so well, for them, this sort of tracks, but it's still lunacy. Is there something more? That's the question. And now what we're going to watch is when he comes back, it's going to be the most listened to Orioles broadcast of the year. Everyone's going to listen to what he says, how he does it. Believe me, he's being coached. He's being spoken to by management. Here's what we're going to do when you're back. He can either cooperate or not. But if the Orioles are smart, which they're not, they're going to discuss how to re-onboard him on the air. But this has taken on an internet life of its own, and the Angeloses in general don't care what anyone else thinks. But in this case, it's embarrassing for MLB. It's embarrassing for the Orioles, but they don't care. And the industry doesn't want the focus on this. We should be talking about the Orioles team, and we're talking about this. It's a damn shame.
Is this something that Rob Manfred would or should make a phone call? Now, it obviously never makes it to the light of day. No one's aware of this. But if you were advising the commissioner, would you say, Rob, this is embarrassing as you know what, and I know it's his team, but he's over the line here, and you got to rein him in?
So Rob would not make that phone call himself. He would have someone else make the call. And the relationship between the commissioner's office and the Orioles is strained at best. So I don't believe they would choose this as the battlefield. There's too many other battles they are fighting with the Orioles. But what the commissioner does is he decides what would rise to his level for making a phone call to an owner directly on a subject, and this would not be it.
What's the longest grudge you ever held against one of your announcers?
Well, permanent. Right? Where you just, at the end, there's a negotiation and you tell the network that we don't want the broadcaster back. And then the broadcaster doesn't get renewed. So that's how it works. During the season, many times the owner came to me and said, get that broadcaster off the air. And the answer was no. And we were not the Orioles winning 70 games. But we wouldn't do something like that during the season for something the broadcaster said. And what the broadcaster would say is nothing like what Kevin Brown said. That was truly, as you said, David, a recital of the game notes. There are broadcasters who have done way more egregious things anti-management That was not anti-management. That was not anti-team. That was fact-giving. I'm talking about things that rise to the level of, hey, the owner of this team stinks. That type of statement. This team should be spending more money because the owner makes so much money. That type of statement. That trade is the worst trade in the history of the franchise. These players stink. That type of statement.
In our final moment here, your thoughts last week when Cabrera came back, 3 nice crowds. Okay. He went 3 for 10 in the series. And, you were there. You guys signed him, brought him in, ultimately dealt him for a variety of reasons. He's going to the Hall of Fame. I thought it was a nice way to wrap up his Miami career, if you know what I mean.
I was lucky enough to inherit him when I got there in 2002. We brought him up early in 2003. I smiled at how lucky I was to have been a part of that career, however small. We had him for 5 years, and I love Miggy, and I'm so happy for him. And the funniest part is that he really thought he'd win a ring every year after 2003, his first year. And he and I have shared many laughs over the years over how hard it is to win a ring.
Yeah, he got back a couple times with the Tigers and never won another one, but still has 0-3. David Samson, it's nothing personal with David Samson. It's every weekday at 8 a.m. live. You can find it in a variety of places, and you can follow him on Twitter at David, the letter P. Samson, David P. Samson. Hey, welcome back. You look great.
It's my favorite day of the week. Thank you so much, guys. Great to be back.
Thanks, David.
David Samson. David P. Samson on Twitter, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton. Man, it sounded like a great trip, huh?
He got to party with Max Weinberg.
Well, he did. He didn't say that on the air, but yes.
Well, he said it on Switch. It's there for the world to hear if they wanted to.
True. He had dinner with Max Weinberg after a show or the night before a show. Yeah, life is good.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other. The vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologists, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Drew, there's a long-standing dispute when Major League Baseball allowed the Expos to relocate to DC. Technically, they're in the Orioles broadcast territory, and the Orioles control the regional cable network. And Major League Baseball wanted cooperation from the Orioles, and the Orioles have not been cooperative. And they still, I mean, how long have the Nats been in DC? 20 years? And there's still not resolution to the broadcast agreement. The Nats get very little money from their local television because the Orioles control it all. And so it is quite a headache. It's affected the sale of the Nats because if you're buying the Nats, you don't know how much money you're going to make in your local TV deal. Never mind the fact that the Angeloses have been cheap, confrontational, and that's just with their own employees, and have largely run the franchise for long periods of time into the ground. I mean, in the last 25 years, the Orioles only had one good batch. They had a 5-year run under Buck Showalter until now. So that's pretty much the issues. Worth everything you pay him. That's funny. I don't even know his take. He came off the top rope pretty early when you think about it, for a Jewish kid growing up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, to have a trip to Germany, Austria, and Israel. Wow. Way to connect the dots.
Take that, Southwest Florida.
How
you like me now?
I was going to say, if you've paid attention to any world history at all, that's quite a trifecta.
Yes.
They're 29th in payroll.
Yes.
Only the A's, I think, are spending less on their team this year. And again, he does have the second best record in baseball. What was the result of our poll question yesterday? Did Sweden get 20%?
Just about. It was right about 20. There was less than 50% were rooting for Forum, and then a lot that just didn't care.
So it was like 50, 30, 20 U.S.
46, 19, 35.
Wow.
More people rooted for Sweden and didn't care than rooted for the U.S.
That's nice.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan at the top of the hour. He's on his training camp tours. He's in Baltimore. He was with the Commanders yesterday. I don't know mean, usually he spends at least a day in Canton at the Hall of Fame, but he may have been at a training camp on Sunday. Don't know where, but we'll catch up with Pat Kirwan at the top of the hour. We just caught up with David Samson. If you missed it, go to floridasportsnetwork.com shortly after the show. Download what you missed. He's back. Our weekly chats are at 7 a.m. on Tuesday, and he is going to join us for the rest of the year.
Speaking of DC, did you see what your girl Beyonce did?
No.
She played FedEx Field
right
recently, big concert, and huge downpour. Rain for like 2.5 hours. They had to get people back inside. The lightning storms, and the concert couldn't start until late. And because of it starting late, it was going to run past when the Metro in DC ran. So she paid for the Metro to stay open another hour to the tune of $100,000 so all of her fans could go home.
There you go. There you go. That's what you do. That's like Taylor Swift, who's spending millions in bonuses that she's given out to the truck drivers and the stage crew and what have you. I mean, she's just writing checks. And apparently it's like 6-figure checks too. Like, I mean, she's not, and some of the people who have done this, obviously for other tours and what have you, are like, yeah, a lot of them don't give us anything, but if they do, they might give us $5,000, which, don't get me wrong, it's nice. But, this truck driver's like, she handed me $100,000. That may not be life-changing to her, kind of life-changing to me. So now granted, it's like the biggest grossing tour of all time, but it's nice, it's nice that still superstars realize that, that some of the stuff that, us peeps go through, Mark.
Us peeps, huh?
Us peeps. That's why there's Swifties in a beehive. That's why you don't mess with those two ladies. I'd rather jump in the middle of a cat fight in a bar than mess with the Swifties of the beehive.
But I'm still taking Joe Burrow because he was not afraid of the Swifties.
I know. I know. All I know is about a week after he said that, he hurt his calf and he might miss opening day. Just saying. I'm just saying. It's kind of like when Drake puts your jersey on. Okay? If Drake supports you, I mean, ever since he was seen wearing the Ohtani jersey, the Angels are 0 for August. I'm just saying. They got within 3 of the playoffs. Drake put the Ohtani jersey on. The Angels haven't won since.
I appreciate that David is aware of the Drake curse because it is real.
Yes. Yes. He shows up at games rooting for a team, that team loses. He wears a jersey of a certain player, they get hurt. It's a real thing. The SI jinx was like a 30, 40-year phenomenon. This Drake curse, this is like 5 years running.
Madden cover curse was there for a while. They are real things.
Yes, it still is. I think people still believe in the Madden cover curse.
I think Patrick Mahomes kind of shattered that
He
one.
did.
Yeah, he shattered that. But always room for a comeback.
Who's got Madden this year?
It's Josh Allen.
Okay, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Let's get after it. Philly, what do you got for us today? Time for the play of the day.
Well, we got a lot of Sox fans, and I mean Red Sox fans in Southwest Florida. The Red Sox, 2-2 in the ninth. Bases juiced. Pablo Reyes.
The pitch. Swinging a drive to left field, high and deep toward the pole. It is a home run. It hit the pole. The Red Sox walk it off and a grand slam by Pablo Reyes. Can you believe it? His first home run as a member of the Red Sox. And the Red Sox win it 6-2, a walk-off grand slam.
You heard it there. Walk-off grand slam off that green monster foul pole. WEEI, Joe Castiglione. I think I butchered
Joe
that
Castiglione, yes.
Castiglione, yeah.
Okay, no, it's Castiglione.
So you know how the Red Sox have those alternate jerseys?
I've met him. I've actually talked to him. It's Joe Castiglione. I appreciate you wanting to Italian him even more. Okay, but this is not rigatoni. It's Joe Castiglione.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you know how the Red Sox have those alternate jerseys, those yellow jerseys?
Those awful.
The hideous.
Right.
The only Major League Baseball jersey worse than the Reds alternate uniform.
So they were wearing those last night.
I know.
They are 7-0 this year in those jerseys.
Wouldn't take them off.
The Yellow Sox do it.
Listen, those jerseys are so bad, okay, that it would still be a debate if I was running the team. It'd be like, Coach, we're 7-0. We wear these jerseys. Yeah, I don't know, though. They are so ugly. I think I'd rather lose wearing the home whites.
It's like if the Reds wore blue.
I have no argument. It's the worst thing I've ever seen. What's worse? What's worse, David? The Bumblebee Steeler jersey?
Oh, wow.
No, those are awesome.
They're awful.
No.
They're awful.
They're awful.
No,
the
they're
Bumblebee
horrendous.
Steeler jersey or the Boston alternative?
Oh, no, the Red Sox. You know why? Because the Bumblebees, at least their damn colors. It's horrendous, okay? But, the Red Sox are wearing yellow. What? We going to put the Cleveland Browns in blue?
They are Boston Marathon colors.
I understand. No. I get the method to the madness, okay? I'm just saying also they're not good. Like, to me, there had to be a way of you go get it. You want to operate the colors in the Boston Marathon. I get it. We got to do better than this, though. This looks like a lemon. We got to figure something out here.
Imagine if they made a Celtics version of that. Oh, God.
Oh, it's okay that the Red Sox do it, but if it's your beloved NBA, now we're drawing a line.
Well, no, I agree. It is weird that the Red Sox are not wearing any red.
Well, with alternate jerseys, that happens.
David, you're right. I wondered what they looked like. They look like lemons.
Yes. Man.
But they're 7-0.
I know.
And right now, Red Sox fan going, we've still got a shot at the playoffs. Sale's coming back. Are you kidding me? Unless Chris Sale hates him and starts cutting them up like he did with those White Sox jerseys.
Well, at least don't put them in wool. Okay, if they're cotton, he'll wear them. But yeah, Sale and Trevor Story are coming back. I think it's
like two big acquisitions at the trade deadline.
They were doing fine till the Blue Jays went in and swept them 3. They were within a couple in the loss column before that happened. So that's our play of the day. Man, those uniforms, that's like 7-0 in those uniforms. But that's like when the woman in your life says, how do I look?
Oh.
Okay. And she feels great. She loves her outfit. She loves how she's done her hair. Okay. And you're like, oh my, but she's feeling great. And you're getting a vibe from her that's like, this is going to be a great night, if you know what I mean.
Right. Problem is her hind end looks twice as big in this dress as it does in any other dress, and you can't say a damn thing.
Down goes Anderson.
Yeah. Yeah. And so her attitude is, I'm 7-0 in this outfit. And your attitude is, you're ugly in that outfit. But you can't say it until you lose.
I can't believe you don't like the Bumblebee jerseys.
Oh, awful.
They're pathetic.
What is it with you? You like the hustle and the Bumblebee jersey. Wow. What we learned on this show, Miller and Moulton.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other. With a vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologist, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
It's good that my dad still gets mail at my house, considering he's been dead for like 5 years now and never lived at my house.
God. Why?
It's all right. I have conversations. When I get it, because I get a thing that shows me what mail I'm getting. And I just checked it. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But it lets me have a conversation with Dad every once in a while.
Oh.
Hey, Pops, how you doing?
Hey.
Got some mail today.
Canada, it might be up there. Okay, Canada, what was a better fight? That one or Nolan Ryan?
Nolan Ryan.
That's the thing.
But they're both really good.
Yeah. But Nolan Ryan, I mean, he just stays on the mound and then just puts him in the hold. Wow, wow, wow. Yeah, exactly. That's why it was so great. I just love how quick Anderson was to square up. Like, screw this. What's up? Jose Ramirez immediately responding.
Anderson looked like the one who knew how to fight.
Well, they both looked like they knew how to fight.
No, because that was a wild punch. It was a wild right that hit him. That wasn't.
It was a he kind of straightened his elbow, kind of hit him with the front of the fist. Hey, that's effective. Plus, it's a scrap. I mean, this ain't boxing. This is a scrap. It's crazy how in a scrap, all fundamentals seem to just get thrown away. It's just wailing.
Fundamentals.
We're talking about the fight
in a brawl?
Yeah.
There are fundamentals in a brawl. There's fundamentals for 3 seconds.
Those guys squared up, though. Anderson looked like he knew what he was doing. That's all.
And he squared up lefty. I'm like, what? He goes to Pernell Whitaker here. What's going on?
Southpaw.
You're right, though, Mark. I mean, Anderson was giving off the vibe, kind of like, listen, you come after me, I'm going to kill you.
Something had to have been said because he was suspended 3 more games than Jose Ramirez.
Well, they felt he instigated it.
Yeah, he definitely instigated it.
With the hard tag, I guess.
Well, and he kind of straddled Ramirez also. He didn't get off him, and that's what Ramirez objected to. And then he was the one that, threw the first punch.
All right, one more segment in this show.
Have Cleveland and Chicago always had?
Well, they're division rivals.
Well, right. Has there ever been beef?
Well, it's funny you say that. Noah Syndergaard's been on the Guardians 2 weeks. And Syndergaard said, I just got here, but I've been on enough teams to know when certain teams don't like each other, and these two teams really don't like each other.
Well, and I do think the White Sox, with all these reports coming out of what's been like in the clubhouse, they're playing a lot harder because they've been embarrassed.
Well, also in the past couple of years, I mean, these teams have been really tight in the races for that top spot. It's probably the worst division in baseball.
One of the worst divisions in sport.
Yeah, it's like the NFC South of Major League Baseball.
Can I go back to Miami here?
Sure.
Or do you have something you want to?
No, I got most of the stuff out I wanted to get to.
Canada, I hope I don't give off the impression that I am a Swiftie. I would feel ashamed for myself.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, before Pat Kirwan joins us from Baltimore as his training camp tours continue. JP Shadrick will join us 1 hour from now. Jags have gone at it pretty hard the last couple days. Their first preseason game is at the end of this week against the Cowboys. They're going to play their starters for at least a series, maybe even two, Doug Peterson said. We'll talk to JP Shadrick about how the Jags look in the early going. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com. A week from tonight is our Fantasy Football Summit presented by the law firm Michael F. Hornung. Dr. Roto and dinner in Fort Myers at the Crown Plaza. There's two Crown Plazas in Fort Myers. This one's located in Bell Tower Shops, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe. Got a side room. It's ours. Can seat 50 comfortably. That's it. That's all we want. 50 of you. floridasportsnetwork.com. Dinner and Dr. Roto. Sign up.
David, it's your prescription for a fantasy football championship.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Oh, we're promoting this event for 3 weeks. We're 2 weeks in. And so I've had to listen to on and off the air of 2 weeks where the Mark's best broadcast puns. And he's got one more week of it. I feel this is his way of getting back at me for all the things that I do to irritate him.
How about that?
And I have to take it because I do far more to irritate him than he does to irritate me.
I'm fired up for next Tuesday, though. I hope if you haven't signed up, sign up now. It's always a good night. You will learn a lot. It's a great way to dive into football season, if you know what I mean, because it's more than just it's a fantasy focus. But obviously, he's going to get into some of the hunches he thinks will play out during the course of the season as well.
And he's been pretty good over the years. By pretty good, I mean statistically, he finishes pretty much in the top 20 in the fantasy world every year. Get all his info. It's your personal cheat sheet 1 week from tonight, floridasportsnetwork.com, presented by the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. Can I go back to something that's bothering, troubling, confusing me? And I'm sorry if I'm seemingly harping on this today. What is going to happen to Miami? And I don't mean the Dolphins or the Heat or the Marlins. In this conference realignment game, first off, just a generic question. Do you think at some point the ACC is getting rated? Yes or no?
Yes.
I do too. I think it could still happen this month. You think it's not going to happen till a year or two from now.
And this comes up again because the ACC has at least reached out to Cal and Stanford and said, we're interested.
And the other side of it is they're apparently talking amongst themselves. Before Cal and Stanford get on a plane, so to speak, they're like, listen, we're interested. Now we're just going to decide how much. Where do we go from here? But there are all these reports out there, then, okay, well, if you're bringing in 2 of the remaining Pac-4 and then Oregon State, Washington State will probably merge with the Mountain West and the Pac whatever truly goes away. Okay. Well, now all focus would be on the ACC. Well, there's still talk that as early as tomorrow, there's going to be an announcement coming out of Florida State and Clemson. I mean, that's what's out there. That's the noise in the system. That an announcement could come as early as tomorrow. And this is from the same people who told us a week ago at this time that there was going to be noise coming out of Florida State on Wednesday of last week in which they're going to say, listen, we want out. And guess what happened Wednesday of last week? The president of the university all but said we want out, and one of the board members did say we're leaving.
Now, one of the board members did say we have no idea how we're going to get through the grant of rights. It seems pretty ironclad.
Right. But then what happened on Friday? Florida State is apparently looking into getting in bed with money. Like a JP Morgan or something like that. In which, Florida State Athletics is going to be brought to you by. And we talked about this a few weeks ago when what happens when the Saudis and the PIF want to do this and they pick a school. And they go, we'll finance you. Yep. Don't worry about it. Just tell us what you need. We got it taken care of. Got to have our logo. Got to make sure, whatever it is we're looking for, that we pump it out there. But yeah, we'll bankroll you. And we said, this is coming. This is coming somehow, some way. Well, now it may actually come from an American company instead. And once one school does it, you don't think 15 others are going to line up? But back to Miami. If Florida State and Clemson, and they're hell-bent on leaving for the SEC, and considering that television is damn near engineering all of this realignment, I mean, Fox is the reason Oregon and Washington are in the Big Ten.
The only reason.
Yes. If Fox wanted to keep the Pac-12 together, they could have. I mean, in the last 24 hours.
They check to the Big Ten instead. And when they made that decision, they basically eliminated their business with the Pac-12. They got USC and UCLA in, and that was the end of the Pac-12 and Fox doing business together.
And yet there was still, did you hear what came out yesterday? Basically, the president of Arizona said, because remember for about an hour and a half Friday morning, right after our show, the Pac-12 was sticking together?
Right.
They were having a vote, a grant of rights deal. The Pac-9 was going to stick together. Arizona State, and Utah were going to leave the Big 12 at the altar. Oregon and Washington, and apparently it was Oregon, said, I know what we told you overnight, but turns out we're going to leave. We're out of here. That if Oregon and Washington had stayed, the Pac-12 would still be together. And once they left, Arizona State, and Utah went to the Big 12. We all know what's happened. Okay. Back to the realignment. For a week now, the 4 schools that reportedly are going to the Big 12, whenever this ACC domino falls, the same 4 schools have been mentioned for a week. Pitt, Louisville, Va-Tech, and NC State. Okay. That takes the Big 12, by the way, to 20 teams. Florida State and Clemson. Where are they mostly reported to going and where it is that they want to go?
SEC. They're bound for the SEC. That's
Right.
where they want to go. That's where they have the best fit.
And follow the television networks. Who broadcast Florida State and Clemson now? ESPN. Who would continue to broadcast Florida State and Clemson if they went to the SEC? ESPN. That's why they don't want those schools going to the Big Ten, whether the Big Ten has any interest in them or not. And they really don't want them going to the Big 12 because then Fox could air some of their games because that's a split TV deal. Which then means that two schools, because two more schools have to leave the ACC, 8 schools have to get up and leave to dissolve the conference and the grant of rights deal and all that. Well, that's North Carolina, and the school that is widely reported is going with them is Virginia. Which, once again, which takes the Big 10 to 20, by the way. The Big 12's at 20, the SEC's at 18. It leaves Duke, Wake, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, BC, and Miami. Where the hell's Miami going?
David, your Big East revival may be all that's left for Miami if the Big Ten's not interested.
I mean, if you're the Big East, do you call Duke, Wake, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, BC, Miami? You already have UConn in basketball. You just say to them, we're going to start playing football again. You in? They'd be like, hell yeah. And then here's another thing. If the ACC is going to get blown up, well, come on.
Where's Notre Dame going to go?
Thank you. Where are they going to go?
And it certainly looks as if Notre Dame is still not interested in the Big Ten. Because if they were, wouldn't they already be in it?
You would think. Now, this could be the scenario, though. I mean, listen, we all know Notre Dame wants to stay independent. Okay. You got to have a conference, though. They play 5 ACC teams every year in football just to be able to fill out their schedule. And then they play all their other sports except hockey. Okay. They play in the ACC. They play hockey in the Big Ten.
It's rich, I know.
I know. It is. So then what? Notre Dame joins the Big East? Guess who owns the Big East television rights? Fox. Fox can't get their hands on Notre Dame games. They could now. ACC goes away. I mean, the other thing is maybe NBC. Guess who's going to take over as athletic director at Notre Dame? Pete Bavacqua. Mark, where does Pete Bavacqua currently work?
NBC.
So can somebody tell me, and if you're a Canes fan, you got to be thinking about this, right? Where are we going to go? Now, Mark, our idea is if you're the ACC, you're sly as a fox here. You let all these schools leave. Blank you. And then you call Notre Dame up and you go, you want to headline a new look ACC? By the way, we'll even add Stanford and Cal. Stanford, Notre Dame, Duke, Georgia Tech, Miami. Those are outstanding universities. Outstanding universities.
And Wake's no slouch either from an academic standpoint if you're going to bring them along.
And neither's Boston College.
Right.
Just saying.
But
Notre Dame can still, yeah, that's true. But what have we said? You don't think Notre Dame's looking for $75 million a year. If Notre Dame headlines a conference, call it whatever you want. You don't think Notre Dame's going to get $75 million a year? You think anybody's going to make more money in Notre Dame on the free agent market? Because remember, all the other schools are tied up now. Notre Dame becomes a free agent. And as RCB points out in the Twitch chat room, Mark, how do you think Notre Dame would fare in football if on a regular basis they had to play Wake, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, BC, UConn, Stanford, Cal, and Miami.
I think they do pretty well.
I think they'd like their chances of making the playoff.
I think now they'd be in a conference too, which means they could get a bye.
Yes.
Which they currently can't get as an independent.
No.
And I think they'd look at that conference and go, oh, 5 or 6 years we win that conference.
So is Miami's future tied to Notre Dame? By the way, how rich would that irony be? And quite frankly, could Notre Dame's future be tied to Miami?
And if not, what is Miami's future tied to? Because it
Right.
doesn't look like they have a partner right now. And that's all we're really trying to bring up. We're throwing out scenarios of what could happen because they're not linked to anyone. They're not linked to the Noles. They're not linked to North Carolina in the Big Ten. They are on an island all by themselves right now with a mass exodus of the ACC being talked about that they're not a part of.
Mark, play your role as a kid who grew up in Michigan and went to Michigan State. So you have to be Big Ten guy for the next minute. It's your call. North Carolina's coming. Your choice is Virginia or Miami.
It's Miami. It's Miami.
North Carolina's wanting Virginia.
Yeah, I understand. I don't know what to tell you. Virginia brings nothing to the table to me.
It's a great university.
Super. How's their football team? When's their football team ever been relevant? Have they had, 2 good years in my lifetime?
Well, under George Welsh, and they were good in the 80s and 90s. They were. It's been a while. It's been a while. It has.
And they don't care if their football team's good or not.
Basketball team won a national title a couple years ago. Big Ten hasn't won one of those in a while.
They can put that on the Big Ten network. Fantastic.
You know how important that network is, Mark.
It's everything, David. I'll take the Canes over the Cavaliers all day long. And I think most Big Ten people would too. 21,000 is our text line. A lot of Big Ten people listening. Love to hear from you. We will hear from Pat Kirwan. He is next to talk all things National Football League right here, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other. With a vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologists, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
It's time for Dr. Roto's yearly house call, Tuesday, August 15th, 7 o'clock, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe in Fort Myers. The second annual Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit, courtesy of the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. Dr. Roto will give you all the tips, secrets, while answering your questions so you can win in fantasy football. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com. $50 gets you dinner, non-alcoholic drinks, and Dr. Roto. Seating is limited. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com today.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Fort Worth.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Hey, Pat. Can you hear me? Uh-oh. I can't hear you, Pat, if you're talking. You hear us, but we cannot hear you, Pat. Ah, crap. I'm going to have Felipe call you.
Oh.
Whatever you did just did something. Now you muted yourself. Heard something there, Pat. Like you plugged in a cable.
Heard the click from the mute.
Isn't connected. I think you're going to have to call Pat.
What do you say? Exit out, exit back in again? Well, now you're muted, Pat.
And he did it, so.
Okay.
He's off. All right. Call him.
He's there.
Yep.
Ooh, Pat, turn your volume down or something. That echo is bad.
Yeah.
We can't have that.
Count to 5, Pat.
Yeah, it's. I don't know if the other thing.
You are listening
to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And just like that, it is the third and final hour of Miller and Moulton along the network anyway, in Lake City and surrounding areas, Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte, and Venice. The Diamond District bonus hour is 1 hour from now in the 239 Miller and Moulton Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Make sure you go to floridasportsnetwork.com. Download anything you miss on the show, like David Samson 1 hour ago. But also go there and sign up for our Fantasy Football Summit a week from tonight, the 15th, in Fort Myers at Shula Show Sports Cafe in the Bell Tower Shops in the Crown Plaza Hotel, floridasportsnetwork.com. Dinner, Dr. Roto, get all your fantasy information before your draft and to run your league this year. Presented by the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, floridasportsnetwork.com. Pat Kirwan's kind enough to join us right now. NFL Radio's moving the chains. He's doing his training camp tours. He joins us courtesy of Pinchers. Top of the morning to you. You're in Baltimore, right?
I am in Baltimore. I was in Washington yesterday with Ron Rivera and company. Spent the whole day with them. And today, Baltimore. And then tonight we fly down to Tampa. And hopefully I'll be able to talk to you guys Thursday after I get done with Jacksonville and Tampa. So, yeah, it's moving right along. Friday, I was hoping to tell you, but we're going to be in Vegas. And I think we land at 3 o'clock in the morning or something. Who knows? But, yeah, it's going good. It's interesting. Spent a lot of time yesterday with the young quarterbacks in Washington. We'll see where that goes. Sam Howard put an awful lot on his plate for a guy who was a fifth-round draft pick and now apparently the leader of the Commanders, if you will. I got to keep, I'll be honest with you. There's still guys there that call them the Redskins. So going there for the day did not help me break the habit of calling them.
Well, when you talk with Sam Howell and you talk to Ron Rivera, how ready is this quarterback to take on what's going to be a difficult proposition in that division?
No, I don't think they are that ready, to tell you the truth. I think you're going to have to accept the learning curve for him. And, I'm just wondering what new ownership is thinking. They'll come in with an open mind. But a month into this, but they have to switch to Jacoby Brissett, which could happen. I hope it doesn't happen. They got to be patient. Then the ownership might turn around and say, well, why didn't you draft one last year? Why did you put all your faith in Sam? So there's going to be some kind of hurdle there eventually that they're going to land up doing. Unless the kid comes out of the blocks, he's a very good athlete. He runs pretty well. But, initially you got to throw to win. And we'll see where he goes with it. Everyone likes Terry McLaurin, me included, Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuels. They got a nice set of guys. The tight end is not in practice yet. He's got a calf injury, Logan Thomas. But I don't know. Everyone says the same thing. Well, just run the ball and protect them. You guys watch a lot of football. Can you get out of a game or a season without running 2-minute drills most of the time and taking control of the offense? They did do some no-huddle stuff. I thought he was better in the no-huddle stuff. And a lot of these college kids are from that world. So they got their work cut out for them in a very, very tough division.
And the NFC East teams play a very challenging schedule this year. Last year, both the Giants and Commanders, I believe, Pat, benefited from the NFC East, had kind of a soft schedule when you look back and saw who it was they played, and they were able to take advantage of that. That's not the case this year. I heard the end of your show yesterday. You guys were going through the Commanders' schedule, and you think, right now they'll only be favored in about 4 or 5 games.
Yeah, I think that's the reality of it. Not just because we're on a camp tour doesn't mean we see only good teams. Now that the more teams I watch, the more I have a point of reference for who they are and where they're going. The defense will be fine. Make no doubt about that. Those guys are good. Even if our friend Chase Young doesn't play very well or is hurt again or something like that, they're getting used to playing without him performing. So they got a nice group there, and they'll keep games kind of close. And Ron has a pretty good track record of coming on strong in the second half of the season, which he did last year. Interestingly enough, when you look at him, I said to Ron, I'm always looking for how do you win? And I said, one of the things that jumped right out at me was you held 11 teams, 11 under 200 yards passing. That is a remarkable number. And in those games, they went 7-3-1. So the defense, in a lot of ways, has proven they can do more than their share to win games. Now you ask the offense to do enough. Can you get to 21 points, 22 points? You might win a bunch of games doing that, but right now I don't see them being able to do it.
You're at Baltimore today, and I know you haven't probably seen a lot of them, but they have, Lamar throwing a lot of interceptions early in scrimmages. How much does that matter to you, Pat, when you hear that you had quarterback threw 4 interceptions in a scrimmage today? Does that matter a lot to you when it's a guy like Lamar Jackson, a little or not at all?
It does matter because they're trying to get him via their coordinator, Moulton, to be more of a pocket passer. I never believed he would be. I've said it on this show many, many times. These guys are who they are. And he's going to run around and win games. And I'll see him today. Last year when I was there, they did a lot of 2-minute drill. And in the 2-minute drills, I would say he ran 50% of the time in his own 2-minute drill rehearsals. So that's who he is. Cam Newton said it to me once, look, I got to win games. And when it comes right down to it, I'll try to do these things, but I eventually will take off and do what I have to do to win games. I believe Lamar is the same way. So I think the three of us discussed it, and his career is probably going to be shorter than people would like it to be, but that's what he has to do. He's been 6-2 against Cincinnati, 6-2 against Cleveland, but only 1-2. Imagine that. All this time, he's only played the Steelers 3 times. So those are some of the things that are in his way, but I don't think he's ever going to be a pocket passer. And the more he tries to do it and does not succeed, the less likely he's going to be to buy into it.
Well, Pat, it'll interesting to me in that Todd Monken was Georgia's offensive coordinator the last few years. And he obviously was working with Stetson Bennett, but they were heavy on the run, heavy tight ends. Okay. At times their tight ends were better than their receivers. Doesn't that sound like the Baltimore Ravens, if you know what I mean? And he obviously, Stetson, very athletic, by the way, undersized, but athletic. He got him out of the pocket a lot. Okay. I mean, it's going from Greg Knapp to Todd Monken is a huge change, but John Harbaugh sounds like a guy that would love to run the Georgia offense.
Yeah, except he doesn't have Georgia's schedule. He has real teams in front of him.
No, that is true. There's tough to find a Vandy and a Missouri.
Yeah, and how about his own division? There's no slouches. The most impressive team I've seen so far has been Detroit. Buffalo's right there with them, but the biggest surprise has been Pittsburgh. They are pretty focused. So, yeah, he's playing Pittsburgh. He's not playing Vanderbilt. No offense to Vandy, but a lot of things that work when you're the best team on the field all the time, it doesn't really relate to pro football at all. And you can't really run the ball in the NFL when you're losing by 10 points. Most teams don't have the courage to even do it. We'll find out if he does. How many times has he played games where he was losing by you cover that conference? How many times have you been playing games where he was losing by 2 touchdowns?
Well, in the last 2 years, hardly at all. They were patient in the semifinal against Ohio State. And I'm trying to think if he was the coordinator. I don't think he was in 2017. They had a big deficit in a national semifinal, and they stayed patient. But I don't think he was the offensive coordinator in that game.
Pat?
So the things I'm hearing, I heard Zay. I can't wait to see Zay Flowers. And now you got to get the ball in the hands of Beckham and Flowers. And I think there's other ways to do it besides throwing it down the field. So I think that's what I'm going to find out.
Well, Pat, I think if we were to all rank the quarterbacks in that division, Kenny Pickett would be ranked 4th to start the season. Do you think he will be when the season's over?
No. I think he'll be 3rd. I'm not taking anything away from Burrow, that's for sure. Deshaun Watson was interesting. I should cover that a little bit more. People like to call it knocking the rust off, and maybe that's what it really is, but he's looking okay. He didn't dazzle me at practice, and maybe the protections, he was moving around a lot, trying to buy time to find open people. I think he's going to be okay, but the thing about Pickett, I don't want to overrate it, but first off, the guy throws the ball way better than advertised, throws the deep ball better than advertised, and here's the thing he does best, gets rid of the ball on time so much. It's really fun to watch, and he's athletic, man. The guy can move around. So I don't think he's going to end up last in the division when it comes to production evaluation.
Have to admit, and I know you spent 2 days there, and sometimes when you spend extra time, you can either fall more in like with a team or more in dislike with a team. But it sounds like you think the Steelers are going to surprise people.
I do. They got a lot going on that's positive. The offensive line is not only improved, they got depth, which some of the teams in this league just don't have depth, or they're going to ask freshmen, as I like to call them, rookies, to step up and play because they're the backups. That's what New England's situation is. But no, they've got a lot going on that's pretty darn good. And we'll see. I'm not here to say they're going to the playoffs, but everyone says they're last in their division. Now, I'm not going to be one of those guys when we get done with this.
Are any of the holdouts worth worrying about? Jones, Bosa? Is there any holdout there that if you were a fan of that team, you'd be bothered by?
Zach Martin
with Dallas?
No, I think money's undefeated. It always is. They're spending a lot of money protesting, which is a lot. They'll be up to $1 million by the end of the week or so, somewhere in that area. And eventually they'll come in, and there's no way out of those fines now. They've changed all those rules, so they're gonna lose $1 million. Do I think the clubs will tweak their contracts? They'll attempt to, and some of these guys might turn it down. They're never going to let them put more years on the contracts. I know that. So if you want to give them some extra cash, and they have to pay the fine, maybe. I think ultimately they all play. I mean, how many times in our lives have we seen NFL players sit out and realize it was a good thing to do? Le'Veon Bell. They don't do it. And it's almost a disaster every time someone attempts to do it.
Pat, 30 seconds, and seriously, that's about all we have. Why aren't the Cowboys just bringing in a Robbie Gould or a Mason Crosby? I mean, they don't have a kicker. I mean, this is a good team. A lot on the line this year. Go spend an extra $10 and get a kicker.
And Robbie Gould's the one. You start looking at what he's done as recently as last year. The guy, I think, finished 5th in points in the National Football League. And he's 2 for 2 over 50 yards, so he still can pop them over there. I'm with you 100%. Almost every team I go to, I go look at their kicker and ask myself, Cleveland, why haven't you signed Robbie Gould? So maybe Robbie's getting a bunch of calls and he's waiting for more money.
He's Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio, moving the chains, CBS Sports, NFL Today Show, and he's brought to you by Pinchers with locations from Tampa to Key West. Pinchers, where you cannot fake fresh.
Hello, friends and family of Southwest Florida. Are you looking to tap into the electric vehicle market? Well, look no further, because we here at Southwest Florida Golf Carts have just what you need. E-bikes, golf carts, LSVs, scooters, and more. Come down and talk with one of our experienced sales reps, have a soda and a smile, and you could be cruising the streets in your new EV today. Stop by the store or visit our website at flgolfcarts.com and enter for a chance to win $100 off your next purchase by answering John's monthly sports question.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
20 years ago, Jason and I had the idea for a jewelry store like no other. The vast selection of certified diamonds priced 8 to 12% over cost. A team of individuals who are educated, driven, and believe in cultivating relationships.
Today, we have become one of the largest independent jewelry stores in the country. Todd and I love what we do and are in the store nearly every day, along with our GIA gemologists, master jewelers, custom designers, and non-commissioned diamond consultants, all of which we consider family.
As direct diamond importers, we travel the world, forging relationships and sourcing diamonds. What we love most about our business is that we can call Southwest Florida our home.
If selection, value, and comfort are important to you, give the Diamond District an opportunity. You won't find a better diamond buying experience. Todd and I look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
It's time for Dr. Roto's yearly house call, Tuesday, August 15th, 7 o'clock, Schuler's Joe Sports Cafe in Fort Myers. The second annual Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit, courtesy of the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. Dr. Roto will give you all the tips, secrets, while answering your questions so you can win in fantasy football. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com. $50 gets you dinner, non-alcoholic drinks, and Dr. Roto. Seating is limited. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com today.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
So, Pat, where were you after Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh, I went to Cleveland.
Okay.
And then Cleveland, over to Washington, drive over to Baltimore, and then, excuse me, out to Tampa tonight. We're dodging all these lightning storms, everything else. It's kind of wild out there.
And then you can just come down here to the humidity.
Baltimore, just because no one's like this, every team I've been to, they're about 10 or 11 starters from their own draft college free agent pool, and half the team is from free agency. The Ravens, they're going to start, I think, 17 homegrowns, which I never get teams anymore that have that many drafted players as starting. But they really do raise their own. They only got a couple guys, Beckham and Zeitler, Morgan, Moses, there's 3. Rockington is 4. And then if you want to count the nickelback, that's probably going to be a guy that's not homegrown. But that's how and it's fun to always talk to their people about it. They kind of believe in raising them right. So a different formula for sure.
Well, Pat, I mean, we could make the case. Has there been anybody in the last 25 years that's drafted better than them?
How about this answer? Probably the answer is no, I don't think so. But how about this answer? Cincinnati.
Not over 25 years, but their record over the last 15 to 20s, because I think the Ravens longer. The Ravens started from the moment they went to Baltimore. I mean, that 96 draft was legendary.
Yep. But Duke Tobin is cleaned up and straightened out the Bengals.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't thought about a real answer to that, but my first instinct is Cincinnati's done pretty good.
They have. They had a few character guys, though. Remember, what's his face, the longtime coach? He always would take a flyer on a character guy.
Well, it's not him. I had a lot of friends on that staff. My intern is still there. He went back there. He went to other teams, but he's back. Louis Chioffi. Louis actually ended up being D.C. and Arizona for a while, but he used to say to me, it's not Marvin. It's Mike Brown.
Interesting.
Mike Brown doesn't take the guys off the draft board with character problems. And if you look at their second-round picks back in those days, David, which I know you like to do, that's where he took the character problems. Because he had first-round grades on him. And when it got to the second round, he was taking him off the board. And Marvin said, I don't know if we should take that guy. And his answer to Marvin, in front of the whole staff and in front of my guy, was, my dad coached Jim Brown. You can do it. Yeah, but I think Duke Tobin, there's an underrated guy. I was looking for a GM guy. I tried to pull him out of there.
I'd agree with that. Well, hell, Pat, they drafted 6 guys in the 4th round 2 years ago? I mean, we thought they'd be trading away 2 or 3 of those picks. I mean, they just draft a bunch of people.
Well, the one thing about Mike Brown, he likes cheap. Go look at dead money by all teams, and go look what Cincinnati's dead money is. It's like 0. They don't get themselves involved with like releasing people they owe cap space to. Yeah, their dead money is always dead last.
So what, you'll spend Wednesday, Tampa, Thursday, Jacksonville?
Yes. And then I told the guys, I said, what a lousy planning trip, because we're going from Jacksonville to Vegas. There's no direct flight. Why didn't we do Jacksonville and then go over to Tampa and get a direct
flight? Yep.
Or how about go from Jacksonville to Miami and then get a direct flight?
Yeah. I said to him, why don't we can do Tampa, drive down to my house, spend the night, drive over to Miami, do Miami, and flight straight to Vegas. No. We got to go to Jacksonville. They got to get directions in Atlanta.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. JP Shadrick, part of the Jags Radio Network, will join us in a little more than 15 minutes. He's excited about that. So are we. But we're also excited about our remaining moments with Pat Kirwan. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today show. He's doing his training camp tours with his partner, Jim Miller. They are in Baltimore today for the Ravens, heading to Florida for the Bucs and the Jags later on in the week. Pat joins us courtesy of Pinchers. From Tampa to Key West and all points in between, Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. How would you handle preseason football with 3 games? Like Doug Peterson's already announced he's going to play his starters for 1 or 2 series of the first game. I mean, how have you evolved about preseason football? And we're down to 3 games. And who would you play and how much?
Yeah, well, first I'll make this statement. I would love to see preseason football go away. I think it's a waste of time. Now, what I like are the scrimmages. What I really like is the ability, and so do the coaches. Playing a series means maybe 6 plays. That's what a series is going to be. So the reason I don't like that is you take the day off the day before the game. You go out there, you play 6 plays. The next day's a film review, and you're not in the film review because you played 6 plays. So it's a 3-day waste of time. I'm not a big fan of the games, but since we have them, would I play my starters if they are fully developed players that are in the middle of a great career? No, I wouldn't play them down. That's what the Rams did when they had good players. Now they're going back to playing guys because they have to develop guys. Does a new coach set the tone, like our friend over in Denver, Sean Payton? Yeah, I get what he's doing, but he's not really going to play him very much. So they don't get a lot out of it. They don't really, the situational stuff they're all doing in the scrimmages now. They get red zone. They're going to take 25 snaps. And the reason they like the scrimmages, besides doing what they want to do, more goal line, more red zone, whatever, is you still can't hit the quarterback. You put him out there in a preseason game, and the guy on the other side of the field is a rookie, undrafted guy trying to make a name for himself. He's going to unload on your quarterback. So that's why I think it's a waste of time.
How hard is it for the quarterback to go from not getting touched to having, if you don't play him at all, to week 1 when now it's full on? Is it more difficult for the quarterback, Pat?
Some of them don't know how to take a sack or a hit, and we see them getting blasted to us. They still don't understand how to do it, and most guys learn how to do it. And Rodgers is pretty good at demonstrating how to take a sack and not panicking and not taking a direct shot all the time. But I don't think people are going to risk. I hear you loud and clear, Mark, on preparation. But a lot of guys are not going to prepare the quarterback for contact. They just can't run the risk. Not in the salary cap world we're in, and not what they're paying the coach. When he's passing you the 4th, the 3 of us talk, and I will include Felipe in here. The reality is we're paying him more and more and more, and yes, percentage of cap, but we can't afford to get these guys hurt. There's no one behind half of them. If you look at some of these rosters and say, who's the guy behind the starter? I'm going to see Baltimore today. Does anyone think Tyler Huntley's going to win games? Josh Johnson's still on a team. So you really can't get these guys hurt. So the risk reward isn't there to prepare them for contact.
I know it's mentioning a team that we've already talked about, but new GM in Pittsburgh, and I don't know if it'll result in wins, but it seems as if he was hell-bent on improving their depth, because almost all their signings this year, even Patrick Peterson, although they paid him starters money, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers, the Eagles are still doing it. They signed a pair of veteran linebackers yesterday. I mean, some teams are absolutely hell-bent on depth. And both teams that I just mentioned, Pat, have one thing in common besides the fact they're in the state of Pennsylvania. They both have quarterbacks on a rookie deal. They can afford depth.
Yep. Well, that's the formula for success or developing a football team in the NFL. You got a starting quarterback that you like early. So he's on the field either in year one, at the worst, year two. And you've got a window of opportunity to sign guys. In Pittsburgh, it's interesting. Omar Khan is the GM, and he's doing a terrific job. I talked to Omar about this specific subject. Omar thinks there's a really good chance they're going to have 24, 25 guys that were not on the Steelers last year. Now, this is a team that was always built on their own roster. It's now Baltimore that's going to have all these guys that are homegrown. They're almost opposites of how they're going to build their football teams. And, yeah, if you end up in Pittsburgh with 24 guys that were not Steelers last year, that's radically different than most Steelers teams we've ever looked at.
Is that a new method? Is that the right way to do things? I mean, with the number of one-year guys that are guys on one-year contracts that are available right now, don't you have to be able to reformulate your roster a little differently than maybe you did a decade ago, Pat?
Yeah, I think part of Omar's logic, I'll deal with them first, is if you really think about it, they think George Pickens is going to be great. So who's George Pickens rooming with? Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson handles himself as well a professional could. He's that kind of guy. Patrick Peterson, same type of player. These two guys are old. They're not going to be around very long, but they're there as much to play, but they're also really there to influence the young guys the right way on how to handle yourself as a pro. And so I think that's been part of it. I think Mike Tomlin had a lot to do with Robinson and Peterson. He told me he did. And Mike usually defers to Omar, but in those cases, he, the coach, was looking for guys that are going to influence the young ones. Joe for Patrick Peterson and George Pickens for Allen Robinson. He wants them to grow up exactly the right way, and he put two high-profile professionals right next to him.
Pat, Warren Sharp of Sharp Football released just a fact yesterday. He said, if Baker Mayfield wins the starting job in Tampa, here's the age of the starting quarterbacks in the NFL week 1. There are only 9 starting quarterbacks in their 30s. Over half the starting quarterbacks in the league, 18 out of 32, will be 26 or younger. If Trask wins the job, it'll be 19 out of 32 that are 26 or younger. Do you think there's any significance to that fact to you?
Yeah, a couple things jump right out at me about that. Number one, I have to go back and look at how off that or how different that ratio is from years past. But they're throwing the ball in college like crazy. You know, Jimmy Miller always talks about it. When he came out in the 90s, they were throwing the ball 18 to 20 times a game at Michigan State. And so these guys are all coming out throwing the ball 40 times and throwing the ball thousands of times in school. So that contributes. The NFL has adopted more of the college game than they ever used to. So they've adjusted to get these young guys on the field. And number 3, the reality is once you put them out there, you got to keep them out there. And so you might as well do something to get them closer to what they do. And with us willing to let them run around like never before, I think the careers are going to be shorter. And a lot of these guys don't want to get into the deep money that comes when you're going for a third quarterback contract. They're going to probably tag all of them with the option year if they were first rounders. They're probably going to keep around for a nice fat second contract. But to get to that third contract in the world of quarterbacks, I think a lot of guys don't want to get to the $50 million a year range. And we can start thinking about some of those kind of things. So it doesn't surprise me that there's a lot of young ones out there. And I think those 3 reasons are part of why they are out there.
Pat, enjoy the rest of your camp preview. Looking forward to hearing what you have in Tampa, in Jacksonville later in the week. Be safe, and we'll catch up with you in a couple of days.
All right. Thanks, fellas. Enjoy your day. I'll be enjoying mine.
Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's moving the chains. His training camp tours. They're in Baltimore today, Tampa Wednesday, Jacksonville Thursday, and then he heads out west. Joining us once again, courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, all points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. JP Shadrick, speaking of the Jags, he works for him. We'll talk about them next. It's time for Dr. Roto's yearly house call, Tuesday, August 15th, 7 o'clock, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe in Fort Myers. The second annual Miller and Moulton Fantasy Football Summit, courtesy of the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. Dr. Roto will give you all the tips, secrets while answering your questions so you can win in fantasy football. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com. $50 gets you dinner, non-alcoholic drinks, and Dr. Roto. Seating is limited. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com today.
Located on the East Trail, locally owned Naples Tiki Bar and Grill is an outdoor eatery next to the Hitching Post Shopping Center. Island-inspired food with a true tiki theme. The best place in Naples to enjoy the beautiful weather in Southwest Florida. The Naples Tiki Bar and Grill offers a great menu for dine-in or takeout. Enjoy our famous pulled pork, huge burgers, and tiki bar cocktails. Don't miss happy hour every day from 3 to 6 and live music 7 days a week. See you soon at the Naples Tiki Bar and Grill, 11498 Tamiami Trail East.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Look at that. He's got his training camp tan out in the sun, looking good.
Keeping that SPF 35 on the dome to make sure he stays safe.
I've got a big hat, which is good for up here at least. Doesn't really help all this, but it's what it is. It's Florida.
Yes,
Hot.
it is. And it's hot.
And it's that fine line. You know, you take it off for 20 minutes. You want it to get a little color, then you got to put it back on. Right.
That's right.
Hey, did you go to St. Andrews?
No, we were at Liverpool, Royal Liverpool.
Okay.
That's where the Open was this year.
Okay. I just didn't know if you went anywhere else.
No, we were went to Belfast for 2 days to check that out, and then down to Dublin for 3. I'd been there before, but it's cool enough to go back. And then we hopped over to Liverpool. I had Saturday, Sunday tickets for the Open.
Outstanding. How was Belfast?
It was cool. It was I didn't know really what to expect. It was a little, not gritty's too strong a word. There's a little more of an edge, let's say. But it's not bad. I mean, it was fine. But it's not super touristy, not as touristy as Dublin. So it's pretty cool. The nightlife's good. Like, it's a lot of locals and good places to go, and there's a bunch of Titanic stuff there. They built the Titanic there, so there's that kind of stuff if you want to do that, you know. But it was nice. It was pretty cool.
You like gritty though. You can handle gritty. You're good gritty.
Well, you know, I can handle a lot of things, Dave. But it was fun to see, though. I mean, I didn't really know what it was like in Belfast. I'd never really thought about it, but it was pretty. It was pretty neat.
It's a way to use those miles effectively, right there, JP. That is a way to use those miles effectively.
You know, there's a train that goes between Dublin and Belfast, and it's like 2 hours, and they serve beer on this train, which was great.
Well, hello. I mean, look where you are. I mean, there's no reason having the train service if you can't.
Yeah, 2 hours, you know, so you got to do something while there's cows going by and mountains and castles, and yeah, it was pretty cool.
Well, one's
Liverpool
in the north
neat,
and one's in the north and one's not, right?
Yes,
Isn't
Belfast is in
Northern
Ireland,
Yes.
correct.
Ireland.
So they use British pounds, and then Dublin uses the euro.
By the way, noticeable difference? Like
in what?
Just the difference between the North and, I don't call it the South because they don't call themselves South Ireland. It's Ireland.
Yeah, it's the Republic of Ireland. Yes,
exactly.
And, I mean,
and then
they're all,
and then the traitorous region, right? That's how they look at it. There's Ireland, and then there's traitors.
Well, it depends on which side you're talking
Exactly.
about. Yeah,
right.
No, they all speak English, so and Irish, so it's good.
How bad was the weather Sunday at the Open?
It was so bad. It was so good, though. Oh my gosh, this is what I signed up for. Pouring rain. I had a rain jacket on, and within 2 hours, it was soaked through. It had saturated it, and I mean, this is at 12:30 when it's 25 miles an hour and coming down. Then it kind of stopped and settled for a while, but I was still soaking wet anyway. It didn't matter. And then I think Harmon was on like the 13th, and the bottom just dropped out again the rest of the day. And we were like, okay, do we get to a pub? He's already winning by 4 or 5 anyway. Let's just stay. We're here. We're not going to make it in time. We know he's going to win. There's no drama. We're not going to miss anything if we don't watch it on TV. So we stayed for the last putt and then walked up in the grandstand when the claret jug came out, and the whole day it's pouring rain, just totally wet, but so cool and muddy. The whole place was just, there's hills you got to walk up and down. You're like climbing the hill. Pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That was great.
That is awesome.
So cool. Yeah. And the little town, Hoylake, is really nice. There's a bunch of little pubs right around the town it's in. So the train out from, we stayed in Liverpool, take the little 30-minute train ride out. And then after the round, you can go either there or just hop back on the train.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Our last segment along the network, the Diamond District bonus hour, awaits in the 239 at the top of the hour. A reminder, 1 week tonight, Dr. Roto and dinner, our fantasy football summit in Fort Myers at Shoeless Joe Sports Cafe and the Bell Tower Shops. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com and sign up. It's the only way you can get in. Sign up. We'll hope to see you a week from tonight. JP Shadrick was kind enough to sign up for us today. He works for Westwood One, calling college football in the NFL, and then he covers the Jags. Okay, pre and post game along their radio networks. Been doing it for about a dozen years now. You look good. You look as if it's early in training camp. You don't look as if the season has beaten you down yet at all. You look like you haven't experienced a single two-a-day yet.
Well, there are no such things as two-a-days anymore in the modern NFL. That's part of it, Dave. It's good to see you guys again as always and talk to you. It is funny. I talked to Tony Baselli on our show last night. We had our first Monday. We call it Jaguars Happy Hour in the afternoon. And I said, Tony, they just came off the grind of training camp, 3 straight days of padded practices. And he just lost it. He couldn't believe 3 days in a row. How did they get through that? Oh, my. Because in the Coughlin days, it's 2-a-days, full pads, day one, you're going nonstop, even the day before the first preseason game. I mean, so the world has changed. But, yeah, it's not Junction 1954. However, for this Jaguars team is about as close as they got the last 3 days or so. They were out in the Florida heat here. They went about 2.5 hours. They were tackling to the ground yesterday, which was a big step for this team just to kind of set the tone, I think. And they've got the day off today. They're back tomorrow to get ready for the Cowboys on Saturday. So here we are.
What's the vibe like? Last year, no expectations, maybe some internally, but now there are expectations for this team, and there's certainly expectations internally. We talk about this team maybe having the opportunity to play for a 1 or a 2 seed in the AFC. So what's the vibe like at camp a year apart from where there were no expectations?
It feels confident, not cocky. You know, there's a fine line there between confidence and cockiness. They haven't done a lot of this yet. So they're a fumble away from not doing it last year, by the way, in the last month and a half of the season. If one thing goes wrong, or if the Titans figure it out, then we're not having this discussion, right? I mean, they had to pull some rabbits out of you-know-where in the last month to get this done. And, okay, now they have to go do it. They have to go do it as the favorite in the division with a favorable schedule, mind you. But there's some confidence there because of the offense coming back. Another year under their belt. Play calling is similar. They can build upon that. The quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, obviously said the other day, man, I'm at the line now, and I can just see and understand and vocalize what I need in a heartbeat. And these guys understand it because they've been around. Calvin Ridley's working his way into that system as well. But everybody else is back. Like nothing else has changed, at least in the skill position. They've added pieces, if anything. So that's a step in the right direction. The defense is, at least early in camp, they've got to kind of figure out some things. The pass rush is the big question mark, right? Can they get home? Can they get to the quarterback? Well, maybe they'll have the lead a little bit more, and that could help. If you're spotting teams 10, 14 points like this team was doing last year, it's hard to get some of that. So the idea right now is to score early and often, and there's a confidence that they can do that.
He's JP Shadrick, Jags Radio Network. Follow him on Twitter at JP Shadrick, Shadrick. You mentioned Calvin Ridley. In following you guys on social media, people were raving about him like he was Randy Moss. I mean, honestly. And I'm like, hold on a second. They signed 2 receivers last year who were good. They're tight ends, a top 5 tight end in the league. But people were going gaga for Calvin Ridley. And remember, he didn't play for a year and a half now. Is he a number 1 wide receiver?
Yes, I think so. Now, I'll say that after all the hype of the first 3 days, people were out at training camp and fans for the first time in 2 years, remember 3 years at least, were at training camp. And they got to see him run routes for the first time. And his footwork is just something we don't have on this team. There's guys that run good routes. Obviously, Christian Kirk can run an excellent route and find space and get open. And that's what he's made his career out of, and certainly last year. And Zay Jones has the ability to do it, but it just looks a little different when Calvin Ridley's running it. Now, that said, he had a cleat issue for a couple days. His foot was sore, and then all of a sudden he comes out with a new cleat and drops 5 balls. It's like he has a day or two here or there, but that's to be expected. Like you said, Dave, he hasn't played in football since 2 years ago when he played 5 games. So he's got to kind of get those legs back again. I think he's trying to tone it back in terms of all the there's a lot of hype around him, right? I mean, all the social media hype and everything. He's got to focus on football, and he understands that. He can't worry about he loves the fan support and everything that comes with that. It's a contract year for him. It's the final year of his rookie deal. If he plays well this year, the Jaguars or somebody will pay him a lot of money to play more football. He understands that. So he's focused on that right now. I think he can be. I think his focus is to be one of those top tier guys. Is he Jefferson, that level of, wide receiver? I don't know, but he's right there. If he's playing big and gets the opportunities, he's just below those top guys. And if he plays well, he could be right there at the top again. I just can't say that after 2 years off that he's going to be right there at the very top of the wide receiver echelon in the NFL. Like Pete Briscoe comes in here, senior writer, CBS Sports. He's our co-host, but he comes through camp for a couple days. It was like the day after all the big hype of the 3 days that started camp with. He's like, wait a minute, this guy's not Jerry Rice. Like, hold off. Let's see some football first before you anoint him the next great thing. But I think for this group, this is a long answer. I apologize, but this is a big subject. For this group, the presence of Ridley could change a lot of dynamic for Kirk, certainly for Zay Jones, and yes, Evan Ingram. Oh, and by the way, the running game too. If you're having to defend all 4 of those guys, if it's a light box, they're going to hand it off to ETN or Tank Bigsby and get 6 yards. Okay, So that changes the offense a lot. And with a calm, collected quarterback triggering all that, I like the addition of Ridley a whole lot.
All right, skilled positions are extremely good. Where's the offensive line? Breaking in a new right tackle. How does the line look? And that, all of these things are great, JP, but if they can't block, then we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. Throw it quick, right? If you can't block,
right.
Get rid of it, Trevor. Throw it. No.
Better run some good route.
Yeah, you better run them quick too. Anton Harrison, right tackle. He's had some right shoulder issues early in camp, but he's been back out there the last couple days and working his way back full. They like his footwork. He can move. He's athletic, and they can work on the rest of the stuff. He's going to fill out his frame, I think, in the next year or so. It's going to take a little time in the weight room with him, but they like where he is, I think, early in camp. And in the one-on-ones I've seen, he's been able to hold his own against guys like Allen and Trayvon Walker for the most part. That's a good sign. Left tackle is a little more complicated because of the 4-game suspension for Cam Robinson to start the season for a violation of the performance-enhancing drug policy. So Walker Little is getting a lot of the first-team reps, and he's been fantastic, nearly shut down everybody in the one-on-ones. And he played great when he was in for Cam when Robinson had the knee injury at the end of last season. He got better as the weeks went along the last month, and that gave him a lot of confidence going into this offseason to really kind of focus in and play at tackle. And then all the Robinson stuff happens. So there's a question mark there when Robinson's back. What happens? Well, you don't know yet. Is Walker playing well? Is the offensive line mauling people? Are they 4-0? Are they 0-4? There's all those things that we got to figure out. So to that end, Little has been getting second-team reps at left guard, just in case. I think Cam Robinson's been flipping in there as well, just to kind of cross-train, just in case Ben Bartch, the left guard, is not ready. And he hasn't practiced yet. He's coming off a knee injury and ACL last year. And I think they're expecting him to be back on the practice field maybe in the next week or so, I think would be the plan. Just see what goes on there. They have Tyler Shatley, who played well there, a veteran player as well. They've got Luke Fortner at center, second year, much stronger. Really has a different presence about him this year than the veteran Sheriff is at right guard. So there are some questions, but early camp questions. I think we'll get some answers as the weeks go along.
Let's just say that the defensive line is going to get a little more pressure this year. Okay, just, a lot of young guys. They're just a little bit better. Like you said, you may play with the lead more. Let's just say they had 10, 12 sacks to the team total. How's the back 6 or back 7, though? I mean, there was not really a strong unit on the defense last year. There were units that got a little better as the season went on. Is this defense good enough if they get those 10, 12 extra sacks?
I think Tyson Campbell can be one of those kind of upper tier corners. Is he locked down Revis? No, I don't think that, but I think he's getting better as it goes along. So Tyson Campbell's one guy, right? They like Darius Williams. He's on a big deal, and he played well when they moved him outside of the end of the season at the other cornerback spot. The question is at nickel. And, Trey Herndon has been around here for a long time and basically is the incumbent there. But there's a lot of young guys that they've drafted the last 2 years that could make a case to be a nickel cornerback. And maybe they do it different ways. Maybe Trey Herndon is your third down nickel on obvious passing situations. But maybe you have a first and second down guy who's more of a safety build. They drafted Antonio Johnson from Texas A&M this year, and he's had a really good camp. And he's bigger than you think. I mean, the guy's like 6'2", and he's about 200 pounds, and he's filled out. He's not afraid to go hit people and make plays. That's a possibility. There's some other guys too. Hallett they drafted this year. They like the safeties. Rayshawn, veteran player, made big plays in big moments down the stretch last year. They hope he can do that again. And Cisco has been in the weight room, the other safety, and I think he's still learning how to use that size. So they like what they have. I think the big question for me is at nickel, guys.
So you sound cautiously optimistic that the defense will be able to hold up their end of the bargain. Is that fair to say? Cautiously optimistic.
I think what they have to do is a possession better than they did last year.
Yeah.
Because if the offense is a possession better, if the offense is 7 points better, hey, you get off the field one extra time, you're winning those games that you were losing the first half of last season. The plan here is to score 30 or 31 points a game. That would have led the league last year. So they're doing that. All you got to do is stop them one extra time, and I think they can do that.
He's JP Shadrick. You'll hear him calling college and NFL games on Westwood One throughout the year. He's part of the Jags radio network pre, halftime, and post. Does a lot on social media. If you're interested in the Jags, check him out, jaguars.com. Follow him on Twitter at JP Shadrick. JP, all the best. Hope to talk to you before opening day.
Well, I hope so. We live in the same town. I mean, come on, Dave.
Hey, listen. I text you all the time trying to get together. You ignore me. I know what you're saying.
True.
You're like Moulton.
That's
you're
not
old,
true.
You're old and fat. I'm young and cool. I work for the Jags. I can't be hanging with you. I get it. I do.
It's a two-way street, Dave. I don't know. It's going one way right now. It's not coming back. I'm trying. I'm doing what I can, man.
All right.
So next camp off day, guess what? Me and you, buddy.
There you go. Pounding them hard, like in Dublin. JP Shadrick, kind enough to join us once again here on Miller and Moulton.
Thanks, JP.
Thanks, guys. See you.
He is climbing the ladder, by the way, at Westwood One. We're going to be able to say we knew him when.
Good for him.
Yeah, he's getting some good games this year too, pro and college.
Well, he started getting really good college games last year as well.
And he did an NFL game on Christmas. So yeah. I gotta continue to kiss up to him though. When he becomes really big, he's got to continue to stay on the show.
Does he need a spotter?
Not yet. I've asked. See, he was the spotter. See, that's the problem. He's too multi-dimensional.
Very versatile. That's what happened when you grow up in the minors, so to speak. You've got to be able to do all the tasks. When you don't start at the highest rung, you've got to do everything for yourself.
That'd be funny. JP, to the point where you need a spotter. He'd laugh hysterically if we said that to him. We've had a good show today. David Samson, Pat Kirwan, JP Shadrick. You miss any of it, download it, floridasportsnetwork.com.
And a reminder that our Fantasy Football Summit is a week away. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com. Dr. Roto in dinner at the Bell Tower, Crown Plaza in Fort Myers. Miller and Moulton, the bonus hour, the Diamond District bonus hour is next.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here.
Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
Planning a wedding can be a daunting task. Choosing the venue, the flowers, the cake, your dress, so much to do before your big day. Well, Jason and Todd with the Diamond District would like to make decisions easy for you when it comes to your wedding bands and give you 20% off or 5 years interest-free financing. Your choice this Saturday and Sunday, August 12th and 13th, during the Diamond District's Summer Wedding Band Expo. The best time of year to buy your wedding bands with the lowest prices and largest selection from America's top bridal designers. Save 20% off manufacturer's direct pricing or take 5 years to pay with no interest. Choose from the newest designs by Crown Ring, M-Fit Designs, My Caroline, A. Jaffe, and Gabriel & Company. This is the largest selection of wedding bands under one roof.
Todd and I look forward to giving you 20% off your wedding bands or 5 years interest-free financing,
as well as shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung specializes in criminal defense, DUI, personal injury, nursing home claims, and auto accidents. I'm a former prosecutor with over 34 years of experience. The information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, time is of the essence to maintain your driving privileges. Call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung for a free consultation. At the law firm of Michael F. Hornung, we are committed to excellence in your representation. Being a local attorney with local knowledge is clutch to the success of your case. For over 30 years, we have successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Our offices are conveniently located in Fort Myers. Visit online at mfh-law.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I'm seeing a lot of clips of Anthony Edwards and Spo talking on Twitter. Oh, yeah. Planting the seed at the FIBA World Cup.
Felipe, if you guys pull off this Lillard trade, you're not going to have any cap room to do anything for 3 years. Honestly.
We'll be back in the finals.
Well, you might be, but I'm just saying that a great player could go, I want to play for Miami. And Pat Riley's going to go, yeah, we have $8.
Yeah.
You know, I nearly got sunburnt yesterday.
I was the guy.
Wow.
Because my swim trunks rode up on my legs to where the white skin is.
Oh, there you go.
And I've got a little bit of sun.
So when you launched, did you go left or right?
Right towards the bay.
Okay, gotcha. So under the bridge, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of those houses are cool.
Mm-hmm.
They're interesting. They're very hidden.
Yes.
Yes, very hidden.
Canada relief. You're going to take, you think the Colts are on the clock? I think it's the Cardinals. But that's a good one. I like that.
What's the over-under on the Cardinals wins this year?
Is it 4.5? Are they
I
the
think
lowest?
you're right.
I think they were the lowest at 4.5.
They're so bad.
Well, the thing is, when they get him back, I don't know how good they're going to be a year from now either.
We've got a pretty tough schedule, too. They might win 2 games this year.
Well, I don't even know if they'll be favored twice. Oh, seriously.
The Cardinals?
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you have their division.
I mean, unless they're playing, are they playing Indianapolis at home?
Or Houston early?
They're playing Houston at Houston.
Yeah, so they'll be a dog.
They play the AFC or the NFC East. So
Washington at home, maybe. I mean, you start
right.
I'm just, you know,
right. Yeah. I mean,
they play the entire NFC East and the entire AFC North.
Well, there'll be a dog in every AFC North game,
and
there'll be a dog in 3 of the 4 NFC East games.
And I'll bet you they're a dog in all 4.
I do
yeah,
too.
there'll
Only
be a
if they have
dog against
Washington. If they have Washington at home,
It's at Washington, yeah.
then there'll be a dog in all 4.
That's their first game of the season.
Honestly, are they going to be favored in a game this year? You know, like when they're hosting the Rams, they're going to be favored.
Oof. Well, the Rams are going to be bad.
But are they going to be Cardinals bad?
Yeah.
Depends. When are they going to trade Aaron Donald and win?
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the Diamond District bonus hour for Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us on this Tuesday. Next Tuesday night, we're hosting our Fantasy Football Summit dinner. Dr. Roto, only one way you can sign up, floridasportsnetwork.com. Hope to see you at Shula Show Sports Cafe in Fort Myers, the Bell Tower Shops, Crown Plaza. Dinner, Dr. Roto, a week from tonight. Bonus hour brought to you by Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. They got a big sale this weekend, right?
20% off your wedding bands or 5 years interest-free financing on all it's their Wedding Band Expo. So if this is the time, Felipe, if this is the time.
Pump the brakes there.
You sounded like a grandparent there.
Making sure you're paying attention. That's all. It's the Wedding Band Expo.
Hey, listen, you have been known to doze during the bonus hour. It's either early or late. 4 hours is tough for you now that you're working another full-time job. So I appreciate Mark actually throwing something out there to see if you're paying attention.
Yeah, mention the heat, not that. There's better ways to get my attention.
I seem to get your attention pretty quickly with that, by the way.
I was going to say. So I saw an idea that I had never seen before. You know, you and I are big into ideas, throwing stuff out there. You know, hey, what do you think of this? So, Sideline Sports Network. I don't even think I follow them, but somehow, some way, one of their tweets showed up. Caught my attention. They said, okay, crazy idea. Let me throw it out there. The ACC lets Florida State and Clemson leave. You know, negotiate and put a dollar value on it.
Okay.
And then the ACC and the Big 12 call each other and say, hey, you want to form like a league? Okay. I mean, we'll grab the 4 Pac-4 schools left. You've got 16. Okay. When we release Florida State and Clemson, we've got 12. We'll grab Stanford, Cal, Oregon State, and Washington State, and we'll make a 32-team league. You know, there's a 32-team football league on Sundays doing pretty well. What do you say? And literally, the league would obviously go coast to coast. The West Coast would be Washington State, Oregon State, Cal, Stanford, the 2 Arizona schools, the 2 Utah schools. Well, there's an 8-team, there you go. 8-team division, conference, whatever you want to call it. Then, okay, Colorado with the 2 Kansas schools, with Oklahoma State, that's 4. Then what do you have? 4 schools in Texas, Texas Tech, TCU, Houston, and Baylor. Hey, go a little 8-team whatever there. Then, you know, it gets a little hodgepodgey, but you got the guts of the ACC together, and you add Iowa State, Cincinnati, West Virginia, into the fold, along with UCF. Think about it. Got UCF in Miami and Florida. You got Georgia Tech. All right. Basically, it's like 32 teams, and you look at it, you want to go 4-team divisions, 8-team conferences. You know, listen, it sounds crazy, but you know what? This might work.
The funny part about this is that the 2 other Pac-4, the 2 state schools left in the Pac-4, want nothing to do with the ACC, and the ACC wants nothing to do with them. But, David, if you propose to them this makes more sense than Washington State and Oregon State in the ACC.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. Well, because think about it. The 8-team little thing you're putting together here, if you make it a 4-team thing or an 8-team thing, what are you doing? They're all Pac-12 schools. The Pac-12 lives on, just not under the Pac-12 banner. Who has the media rights to the Big 12? Fox and ESPN. Who has the media rights to the ACC? ESPN. The only thing to negotiate here is who has the media rights to Cal, Stanford, Oregon State, Washington State. Well, the contract only goes for one more year. This conference, if you will, wouldn't even go into existence. It would go into existence under what? A new TV deal. You ask Florida State and Clemson to combine pay $320 million to get out of the grant of rights. Okay? That's $10 million a school. Here you go. Here's $10 million. They want out. Hell with them.
It's expansion money, though. You can't look at that. You know, this is the mistake that so many franchises would make in the past with expansion money coming in. They looked at that as actual income. It's a one-time hit. But it's still a nice one-time. I'm not knocking the one-time hit, David. I'm just merely pointing out that that's a one-time hit.
Okay.
Would they be able to? The ultimate question is, would they be able to get $30 to $40 million per university from their TV deals? Because they're not going to get Big Ten and SEC money. They're not.
Well, they're already getting the Big 12 schools are all getting $31.7 million. And the ACC schools are getting around 20 directly from ESPN. Then you got the ACC network and CBS with some basketball, et cetera. And they're getting close to 30 million total per school. So now we're talking about Cal, Stanford, Oregon State, Washington State, but also putting it under an umbrella, creating a league, if you will. Think about that, by the way. You'd have the Big Ten, you'd have the SEC, and then you'd essentially have a league. Call it whatever they're going to call it.
Well, I like the Big 12. I like when the leagues make no sense compared to the number of teams that are in them. So let's just call it the Big 12 so we all understand that this 32-team conference is the Big 12.
That is my favorite. The leagues that have numbers in them and the number of teams has no correlation to the number. Like the Big 10's at 18, could get to 20. The Big 12's at 16, could get to 20, or hell, in this proposal, maybe could get to Big 32. But right now, you don't have conflicting TV networks, though, which would be important to pull something like this off.
Hey, this is a better scenario than what we've come up with the entire show of what's out there for Miami right now. Because that has been in and around great guest today. What we've talked a lot about is what the hell are the Canes going to do? Where are they going? If the ACC is indeed breaking up, where are the Canes going?
Let me ask you this. Does this idea interest you if you're Brett Yormark and the Big 12? Or are you basically like, no, we're in third. We're fine. In fact, we're just going to wait for you guys over there to fall apart. And we're actually going to become stronger. Don't need you. Don't want you. Just going to sit here and pick up the pieces. Click.
David, I don't know if this league has the ability to get all these schools the money they want. And if that's the case, then Yormark should sit and stand pat and wait and see what happens. Because he has done an amazing job in a short period of time of picking up the pieces of a conference that literally was crumbling and now has established itself as the number 3.
We've been asking throughout the show, what's going to happen to Miami? Where's Miami going to go? Hey, Miami fans, are you worried at all? The one thing that jumps out at me, Mark, and maybe I'm a little wrong and or biased, we put this 32-team league together. Isn't Miami the number 1 team in the league? I'm not saying
no, brand-wise, without a doubt, David.
Right. And that, just in terms of when we're promoting this league, if you know what I mean. If you were to put games on television and you had this league's contract, aren't you like, who's Miami playing? Answer me that first.
David, by brand, they clearly are.
So it's just an idea that's out there. Is it gotten to the point now where, they were talking about the ACC merging with the Pac-4 or just Stanford and Cal? But has it gotten to the point where, if you think about it, the Big Ten goes from Rutgers to LA. Tough to get more coast to coast than that. You can't make fun of this league because they would embrace all the schools that they would embrace. So the league goes from Seattle to, Boston. How much worse is that than LA to Jersey?
And if the ACC just adds these two schools they're talking about, it is Syracuse against Cal, Miami against Stanford.
So now I don't know if there's any interest in this. You all might be thinking about those teams and going, I got to be honest with you, I don't know if I'd watch any of their games.
Well, what I was trying to figure out is if Miami's clearly the best brand, and we think they are, when you rank them after that, there's no clear-cut number two. They're all kind of hodgepodge after that, David.
Yeah, I think it depends on who's hot. And like right now, we don't think of Stanford as being any good. The David Shaw era ended badly. Yeah, they had 12 years before that where they averaged 10 wins a year. They had 3 guys finish second for the Heisman during that span. Stanford played some damn good football for quite a while recently. But post-pandemic, they haven't been good. So now we think of Stanford as, Northwestern from the 80s, and that's not the fact.
But they've never really been a brand. That's all I'm saying. Even when they were hot, they weren't much of a brand. Oklahoma State's not much of a brand. I'm just trying to think from a network standpoint, what is there that makes me get excited other than the fact that they're coast to coast?
Unfortunately, their best sport would be basketball.
It would, and Syracuse is in the league, so ESPN would be interested.
Correct. Actually, and then you get the heart of ACC because you're still keeping Carolina and Duke, and, it'd be a ridiculous basketball league.
And North Carolina is probably the next best brand because of hoop.
But is it to the point where if you're the ACC, do you call the Big 12 and say, let's go big? Let's supersize this sucker. We'll call the league the Big ACC. What do you say? Are you with me? It's time for Dr. Roto's yearly house call. Tuesday, August 15th, 7 o'clock, Shoeless Joe's Sports Cafe in Fort Myers. The second annual Miller & Moulton Fantasy Football Summit, courtesy of the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. Dr. Roto will give you all the tips, secrets, while answering your questions so you can win in fantasy football. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com. $50 gets you dinner, non-alcoholic drinks, and Dr. Roto. Seating is limited. Sign up at floridasportsnetwork.com today.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Fort Myers.
Visit Jason and Todd at the District.
You've heard the expression less is more. Well, sometimes the opposite is true. Are you ready to rock your stack? This weekend, August 12th and 13th, visit my friends Jason and Todd at the Diamond District for their Stackable and Wedding Ring Expo. Express your unique style by stacking rings. Stack with your engagement ring. Wearing multiple wedding rings is a sought-after trend. Stack on your right hand, stack rose gold with white gold, stack colored gemstones with diamonds. There are no rules when it comes to stackables, and the Diamond District wants to help you join this popular trend and offer you 20% off manufacturer's direct pricing or 5 years interest-free financing. Your choice on all stackable rings. with thousands of rings to choose from.
Jason and I are excited to give you 20% off manufacturer's direct pricing, or you can take 5 years to pay interest-free. Your choice.
We also look forward to shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Sorry, I blasted your ears there.
It was loud.
Yeah, I was.
Not even, fam, I'm not talking about football success. I'm talking about the brand. Because the Miami brand's still bigger than the Utah brand, and Utah's a far better program right now. Like, I think Colorado right now is a bigger brand than Utah, and they suck. And they will suck this year. They're going to win 4 games.
Just getting back to the whole Stanford Cal thing. Sports Illustrated, Pat Forty. If anybody has any interest, he wrote an interesting story. You know, his daughter was the Olympic swimmer, won a silver. So he follows the Olympic sports scene pretty closely. And he did a story over the weekend in which he goes, yeah, I know nobody cares, but Stanford's the #1 Olympic.
31. 31 Olympians came from Stanford.
Last go around, and 16 came from Cal. Cal's #4. Stanford's #1 and Cal's #4. And they just said, you know, this, I know nobody cares, but this is not a good thing for the U.S. Olympic teams. Adam, I don't know about that. If UCF's in the same league as Miami, and let's face it, if Miami's in their league, they'd play them every year. That'd be really good for UCF. For the record, I don't think the Big 12 would be interested. I think the Big 12s are going to sit back and just hope that the ACC gets eaten alive.
I don't think they can, Logic, man. There's no money in it. Unless you're Notre Dame, you can't get a TV contract for being an independent.
Here we go.
Welcome to the bonus hour, brought to you by Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. The Diamond District bonus hour of Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us. We are very appreciative of that. I hope you know how thankful we are that because of you, this is year 17 for Miller and Moulton in our third act. And as we like to say, it sure beats working for a living. Hope to see quite a few of you a week from tonight. Fantasy Football Summit, dinner, Dr. Roto. Get ready to have a great fantasy draft and then fantasy year by taking in what Dr. Roto will be providing for you. Week from tonight, Shula's Joe Sports Cafe in Fort Myers. Go to floridasportsnetwork.com and sign up. Brought to you by the law firm of Michael F. Hornon.
Felipe, I just thought of something. You've got that second job. Last year, you were in the front row of the Fantasy Football Summit, taking it all in, writing notes down, pretty eager to be there to try to win your league. You got to work this year.
Well, I'll still be there.
Just late.
Just coming off a shift.
You'll be missing out on the early part of it, and I don't think anybody's going to help you get that early information.
I think I'll be all right. I say that as I finished in last place last year. But, you know, there's only one place to head from rock bottom.
Mike Sando writes for The Athletic these days. You would know his work to see the name and read it, many of you. He, about a week ago, he did one of those anonymous, hey, if I keep your poll results anonymous, will you answer these questions for me? And he asked it of 50 NFL coaches and executives who were granted anonymity to rank the quarterbacks into tiers. 8 GMs, 10 head coaches, 15 coordinators, 10 more executives, 4 quarterback coaches, and 3 that are involved in coaching and analytics. Tier 1, best. Tier 5, worst. How many quarterbacks in Tier 1?
4? 3? 3.
5.
Okay.
Is what the vote came to. All right. And Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Rodgers, and Justin Herbert. Yet to win a playoff game, but NFL people are like, yeah, this guy is the real deal.
Well, they didn't, I mean, obviously Rodgers was banged up last year, but they didn't take any part of last year into account for how they ranked this.
Well, he did win the MVP the 2 years before that, so I think they're like, well, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How old is he?
I believe this year will be 39.
Thank you.
So Tier 2. And they've got 7 quarterbacks in Tier 2. Jalen Hurts at the very top of Tier 2 in terms of vote totals and what have you. Tier 2 mark is Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is the 5th youngest quarterback in the league. He's 23. I'm telling you, the Jags may have just stepped into it. This could be a decade for them. This really could. Dak Prescott makes Tier 2.
I don't know how.
By the way, Dak's 30.
Yeah. When you pointed out the Warren Sharp tweet earlier, we were talking to Pat Kirwan. That was the thing I noticed. Dak's 30.
And the tweet that Mark references is Warren Sharp, who's president of Sharp Football Analysis. you pay for his work usually, but he sent out a tweet a couple days ago. It just said, hey, here's the age of the starting quarterbacks on opening day this year. And there are 9 quarterbacks 30 or older. 9 out of 32. That's it. If Baker Mayfield, by the way, is the starter for Tampa Bay, then 18 of the starting quarterbacks will be 26 or younger. If Kyle Trask is the opener in Tampa, 19 of the 32 starters will be 26 or younger. Okay, back to tier 2. Hurts, Lamar, Trevor, Dak, 3 more quarterbacks. Care to take a guess?
Matt Stafford's still going to make that list?
Nice. Well played. Think of another quarterback who's had a rough go of it lately.
Oh, Deshaun.
There you go. So Lamar, Stafford, Deshaun, all in the second tier, all have had their issues lately. One other quarterback, the last quarterback in tier 2 is
Russ?
Nope.
So they dropped him out of that list with one bad year, but Aaron Rodgers remains a tier 1 quarterback. Well, if there's a list with Dak on it, if it's got to have Dak on one side, it's got to have a Kirk Cousins on the other?
Nice job, Mark. You're Letterman at the Oscars. Oprah, Uma, Oprah. Yep. Dak, Kirk. Kirk, Dak. Absolutely. Well done. All right. Tier 3, I think, is going to send some people into a tizzy. Some of the quarterbacks that are in it. The number 1 quarterback in tier 3 is Kyler Murray. Right.
Wow.
Rated as the 13th best quarter. Just so you know, 5 tier 1s, 7 tier 2s. So if you're curious, these are NFL people. These are coaches, GMs, coordinators, quarterback coaches. 50 of them. Anonymous voting. Point totals attached to where it is you rank the quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins comes in as the 12th best quarterback in the league. Dak is the 9th. You all have your own lists. You know where you rank these guys. Kyler Murray, Derek Carr, Jared Goff, all ranked ahead of Russell Wilson.
You have not mentioned the Miami Dolphin quarterback yet.
Well, that's because he came in at number 17 in tier 3. The 5th ranked quarterback in the 3rd tier. Tua Tagovailoa, Jimmy Garoppolo, Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, Justin Fields ranked ahead of Ryan Tannehill, and Mac Jones is the last quarterback in tier 3. Now, that's a big tier. That's 11 quarterbacks that they rank in the middle.
Leave some.
Tier 4.
Yeah, who's left?
Brock Purdy's left. Kenny Pickett's left. Jordan Love is left. I find this fascinating. He started one game. And he's ranked ahead of Baker Mayfield.
They've seen Baker play.
Did they see the Baker from led the Browns to 11 wins and went into Pittsburgh and beat the Steelers in the playoffs? I mean,
No, they just saw last year's Baker Mayfield.
Okay. Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder, Gardner Minshew. There you have it. That's the bottom quarterbacks in the league. They only rank 30 of them. Purdy, Pickett, Love, Mayfield, Howell, Ridder, Gardner Minshew listed as a starter in Indianapolis. They don't list C.J. Stroud and they don't list Bryce Young. They haven't played a game yet. So you could, if you take Minshew out and you want to rank Anthony Richardson, your bottom 3 in a poll like this would be 3 rookies who haven't played it down yet.
But Tua and Russ are the ones in tier 3 that may surprise some people in a big list of that tier 3 quarterbacks.
Right smack dab in the middle, too. Russell Wilson listed as 16th and Tua is 17th. That literally splits the league in half.
and Dak's 9th. I don't see it.
Well, Cowboys fans are hoping to see it.
They better see it this year. Miller and Moulton. Good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when. What's on tap? It's how we finish things off every day. We'll do that next.
The waterways of Naples are a beauty to behold, and the Bayfront Inn has multiple ways for guests to enjoy the water and have some fun. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn. Something for everyone. On 5th Avenue in Naples.
The law firm of Michael F. Hornung has successfully represented the citizens of Southwest Florida for over 30 years. As a former prosecutor, the information I know is information you need to know. If you've been arrested for a DUI, a criminal matter, or involved in an auto accident, call the law firm of Michael F. Hornung. I'm a local attorney with local knowledge to assist you through the process. For a free consultation, call 239-437-0095. That's 239-437-0095. Offices in Florida.
Visit Jason and Todd at the Diamond District.
Planning a wedding can be a daunting task. Choosing the venue, the flowers, the cake, your dress, so much to do before your big day. Well, Jason and Todd with the Diamond District would like to make decisions easy for you when it comes to your wedding bands and give you 20% off or 5 years interest-free financing. Your choice this Saturday and Sunday, August 12th and 13th, during the Diamond District's Summer Wedding Band Expo. The best time of year to buy your wedding bands with the lowest prices and largest selection from America's top bridal designers. Save 20% off manufacturer's direct pricing or take 5 years to pay with no interest. Choose from the newest designs by Crown Ring, M-Fit Designs, My Caroline, A. Jaffe, and Gabriel & Company. This is the largest selection of wedding bands under one roof.
Todd and I look forward to giving you 20% off your wedding bands or 5 years interest-free financing,
as well as shaking your hand and welcoming you to our Diamond District family.
At the Diamond District.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I did not read this article in The Athletic on the Pac-12 disintegration, but there is a quote from the Arizona president comparing the conference's proposed Apple media rights deal to, and I quote, selling candy bars for little leagues.
Adam, I don't know that you'll be facing Minshew. I have a feeling you might be facing Richardson.
Funny, they just got on Get Up. They've got the players' top 10 quarterbacks on the NFL's top 100 is where Mahomes, Hurts, Burrow, Allen, Herbert, Cousins, Rodgers, Prescott, Goff, Jackson. That's the players' top 10. They don't list any beyond 10.
Jared Goff, huh?
Jared Goff is ranked 66th in the league, according to the players in the NFL. And that makes him the 9th best quarterback. No, Nick. How old would you guess Dustin Hoffman is, David?
First off, Lamar's 7th, Dak is 9th in this anonymous poll. Dustin Hoffman, 79.
86.
Holy crap.
Right.
So he's the oldest of him, De Niro, Pacino. He's the oldest.
Born in 1937.
Oh, I just read something on Twitter saying that ESPN plans to keep Hubie Brown in the booth. He's 90. Hubie Brown is 90. And he's still out here. Love Hubie. Here we go.
Welcome to the bonus hour, brought to you by Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It's our final segment on this Tuesday. Nice show lined up for you tomorrow. Not only our weekly chat with Seth Everett, Roy Cummings will join us. Bucks training camp. You know, got a quarterback battle going on. Got the really only one in the league going on. It's kind of interesting.
It's the only one we've had in the league in the last 5 years, it seems like. These are not a regular occurrence anymore in the National Football League.
In fact, I'm trying to think when's the last time Tampa Bay had one. Because, you know, Jameis was inserted as a starter. I mean, did Jameis ever have to hold off somebody for his job despite all the turnovers?
Well, that one year Fitzpatrick played, it was because Jameis was injured, no?
Right. I'm trying to think.
But I don't think it was a training camp battle, though.
No.
Right. So I'm not sure that, you know, so now if we're going back pre-Jameis, I mean.
Is it the Josh Freeman year? Was there a battle?
Whew. They drafted him in the first round. I think they just handed him the gig. And then, yeah, I mean, we'll talk to Roy about it, you know, whether or not we got to go back. I don't know. I mean, a bunch of veterans in the 2000s. They went from Brad Johnson to Jeff Garcia. You know, you did have the Brian Greasy, Chris Sims, I think, went at it one year.
There you go. That might be it.
20 years ago. Yeah.
That might be it.
So Roy Cummings, Seth Everett on the show tomorrow.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Brigham Young, today in 1844, chosen to head the Church of Latter-day Saints, immediately said, we're not scheduling Utah on anything. 1918, the Allies launched the 100-Day Offensive. Today in 1945, President Harry Truman signs the United Nations Charter. In 46, the Pirates are sold for $25 million. Today in 1963, the Kingsmen released Louie Louie and radio stations label it obscene. At the Miami Beach Convention Center today in 1968, Nixon gets the Republican nod. Today in 1969, Ian McMillan photographs the Beatles walking across the street. It'd be the cover of their Abbey Road album. Today in 74, Nixon announces he'll resign at 12 p.m. the next day. 1982, Ray Floyd wins the PGA at Southern Hills. Today in 84, Carl Lewis wins his third gold medal of the LA Games. Today in 1988, the Cubs and Phillies attempt to play the first ever night game at Wrigley, but they're rained out in the fourth inning.
So the next day, the first night game went in the books, Cubs-Mets.
Also today in 88, NWA released their debut studio album, Straight Outta Compton.
It was a BFD.
Sorry, I'm just singing that song in my head right now. I'm done. 92, we win gold in Barcelona, crushing Croatia.
I don't know who the hell Angola is, but Angola in trouble.
I'll tell you what, that was the first time that a lot of people were like, damn, Charles Barkley's good. Like, you watch the Dream Team, and obviously, you know, Michael, the best player on the team, but he didn't always look like it during the Olympics. That's how good Barkley was.
Yes, led the Dream Team in scoring.
95, Gangster's Paradise is released. 2008, the Summer Games open in China. And a year ago, Beyonce's Break My Soul was her first number one in 14 years. Renaissance would be number one on the Billboard Hot 200 chart, album chart as well.
I'm telling everybody.
Whatever.
Everybody.
If you say so. Wouldn't know it if you played it.
Oh, great song.
I'm sure it is.
Very Beyonce song.
Jerry Tarkanian would have celebrated his birthday today. He would have been 93. 83 rather. Dustin Hoffman. No, I was right the first time. 93. Dustin Hoffman's 86.
What?
86.
So of the three of Hoffman, De Niro, Pacino, then he's the oldest.
Right. And looks the youngest, doesn't he? Or at least
I would agree with that. Yes.
Ken Dryden, 76. I put this on there just so you can. Don Most is 70. That's Ralph Melf, everybody. Trev Alberts is 53 and Roger Federer is 42. What did I miss, David?
Actually, today was a huge day in world history. Brigham Young chosen to lead the Mormon Church on this day in 1844. Did you have that?
That's how we started the segment out.
Yeah, I wasn't paying attention. You know why? Because Robert Lee, you may know him as Robert E. Lee. He offered his resignation up leading the Confederate Army. Spencer Davis wouldn't accept it. Spike Lee's first feature film, She's Gotta Have It, was today in 86. Nixon resigned tonight. Tonight was the night that he did his address, and he walked out at noon tomorrow. You had that? I thought you had the 68 one about Nixon.
I had both Nixons.
Okay, well then I'm sorry.
68, 74. I wondered why you were so damn quiet during this one.
Well, global warming appeared in print for the first time today in 75. Okay. Sotomayor was sworn in on the Supreme Court 14 years ago today. Truman signed the UN Charter today in 45. We
had that one too.
We had a lot of blanco on today. Sorry, I didn't keep up. I'm like, does he have this? Does he have this? And then when you're mentioning one of them, I'm missing it because I'm going, well, hell, did he have this?
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
What started out as bad and could have been ugly ended up being good. I'm sorry, David. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, hey, did you know Nixon resigned tonight in 74?
Yeah. Charles Gregory headed out for a fishing trip early Friday morning in St. Augustine. Tides rose quicker than he thought. What he was doing out there in a 12-foot John boat is beyond me, but it knocked him into the water. He was out to sea for nearly 2 days, clinging to the 12-foot boat, suffering jellyfish stings and spotting sharks. Finally was rescued by a boat. It started Friday at 4 in the morning. He was not rescued until Sunday, but is now back home and safe. Basically was taking off his shorts, trying to wave his swim trunks as a flag to get people's attention, and finally did. For the bad, we'll come back to Lee County, where, according to FHP, Ernest Asmoa was driving his Mercedes when he stopped on the right shoulder. And then, while changing the tire, decided not to change it, but to throw his spare tire at a Dodge Challenger and then run away. No reason why he threw the tire, not one given, but now he faces charges of throwing a deadly missile. For the Uglies,
I have a question. Can you have a missile that's not deadly?
The only question.
The only missile I've ever heard of that's not deadly was Cadre Ismail.
I see what you did there. For the ugly, we go to St. Petersburg, where the former leader of a St. Petersburg church has been arrested along with others in what was a multi-million-dollar theft ring that spanned several Florida counties. Robert Dell, the former pastor of the Rock Church and operator of a halfway house for people recovering from drug addiction, is accused of working with 4 accomplices to shoplift tools from Home Depot stores throughout Florida. Then he would sell them on eBay on a store called The Anointed Liquidator. They stole more than $1.4 million worth of merchandise. Did I mention he was a former pastor? Thou shalt not steal. I think that's on the list. I'm not sure. But I do know that is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, August the 8th, 2023.
Well, we got baseball. That's it. Preseason football is not till Thursday. Speaking of which, did you see the ratings for the Hall of Fame game?
Did a monster number.
For a preseason game, it did. It did 6.3 million on average, which is their highest rated preseason game in, I don't know, a half dozen years, something like that. But also, like those touting the NFL ratings mark, they then go, if that doesn't sound impressive to you, let me list you all the things this preseason game outrated this year.
Did more than the 2023 NBA playoffs, the Stanley Cup final, the Field of Dreams games, just a couple there for you.
Now, I will say they did label it as NBA playoffs. I don't believe the 6.3 outrated the finals.
Correct.
Right. But, yeah, that's just for you. No Aaron Rodgers either. Probably 1 million more people if Rodgers would have played. So, hey, the Rays, after a day off yesterday, after a nice 6-3 road trip, in which they literally took 2 out of 3 in 3 stops. They're home for the Cardinals. They're 3 back of the Orioles, and Baltimore's playing Houston at 7 o'clock on TBS. So who knows? You know, if you're the Rays, you're hosting the Cardinals for 3. Baltimore's hosting Houston for 3. Maybe you can get a game in the next 3 days. Gotta hope so, right? Mark, for some reason, the Marlins are a solid favorite tonight. They're minus 140 against the Reds. Can somebody explain that one to me? The Marlins have lost 5 in a row, and the Reds are sending a starter to the hill tonight whose ERA is like it's not good.
No, it's not good at all. I've got them starting Luke Weaver, who's got a nearly 7 ERA, so that would be the reason I would get behind it.
Okay, all I know is that I think they win like almost every time Luke Weaver pitches. It's a pretty fascinating dynamic. He doesn't pitch well, but they win. So, doubleheader tonight, Nats and Phils. So they're if you really need some sports at around 4 o'clock, there'll be the first game of Double Dip, and sure you could find it somewhere.
Astros and Orioles. That's a big one for Tampa Bay. If they can take care of business, as you mentioned with the Cardinals, maybe can gain a couple of games because, man, oh, man, the Baltimore Orioles are not losing at all right now. They are playing unbelievable baseball.
I'll make you a prediction. The Orioles announcer is back on Wednesday. Nationally televised game tonight. Kevin Brown, their play-by-play guy, suspended for 2 weeks for pointing out how dominant the Rays had been over the last 6 years and listed the numbers, while then saying the Orioles have taken 2 of the first 3 in this series. It's pretty impressive. All right. Now, suspended for 2 weeks for pointing out the truth.
I will say David Samson pointed this out earlier in the show. If you're going to do something like this, you wait till after the season. But if the ownership's that, we're saying Kevin Brown's wanting to leave Baltimore, he may just get fired.
He may.
He'll get another job, but he may get gassed at the end of this year.
This is actually a good thing for Kevin Brown. This has now made him a national announcer. People now know who he is. Even if the first reaction was people going, is that the former pitcher? No, he's the young play-by-play guy. The pitcher would be the analyst. But that's my prediction. TBS tonight, back on local TV on Wednesday. Kevin Brown will be at the mic.
He better be.
It's a joke.
Because it won't quit in Baltimore now either.
Well, no, and the fans actually like him. Because also, this is where the media now gets to point out, John Angelos hasn't signed the lease to continue to stay at Camden Yards. Remember the dog and pony show he did 5 months ago? Yeah, hasn't done a damn thing. Do they want to stay or not? As the Reds COO asked Mark,
where are you going to go? Where you going to go?
We hope you go to our Fantasy Football Summit a week from tonight. FloridaSportsNetwork.com is how you sign up. It's also where you go to catch anything that you missed on this show, and you missed a lot today. Good show, if we do say so ourselves. David Samson, Pat Kirwan, JP Shadrick, talking all sorts of things.
And JP Shadrick, I think you used the right phrase. You said cautiously optimistic about the defense. They average 2 sacks a game. They average 2.5 sacks a game.
Yeah, and he did make a good point. He goes, most of the year they played from behind. Well, what if they play with the lead? That'll help the pass rush. Now, all of a sudden, you start 40, 42, 44 sacks. Makes the secondary better. I'm telling you, Jags could be a sneaky team in terms of how many wins they get this year. Seth Everett, Roy Cummings tomorrow. Talk to you then. It's time for Dr. Roto's yearly house call. Tuesday, August